It's a Friday. How we're looking. Today's a weird one. We got old boy Uncle Mitch, Matt Mitchell, Action Network. Going to talk some betting. Mark Schofield, SB Nation. Going to talk some NFL and the playoffs this weekend. Mike Clemens is going to be here, rounding out the last hour of the program. And we've got QB songs and blue schlongs. That's a Friday. Welcome to the program, the Bill Michaels Show on the air. And if you want to get a hold of us, 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hit us up. You can find us over on Twitter at Bill_Michaels, Michaels. You can find us there at Ben Z. Kenny. Ben Kenny producing the program. Ben, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Bill.
Yeah.
I am nervous. I'm excited it's Friday. I'm nervous for this weekend.
Why are you nervous?
Because the Eagles play the Giants.
There's a level of confidence that should be brimming from you.
That's not how I usually approach these things. I talk myself into disaster.
Okay.
And disaster usually strikes, and then I'm prepared for it.
Gotcha. Okay. I can understand it. Because there is an well, you know what? I think out of all the games this weekend, I think that's probably the safest.
That makes me feel so much worse.
Well, why? I've been on the positive side of my bets this year.
I know.
I'm making money. I'm making money, baby. Out of all that and the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs over the Jacksonville Jaguars. You get this sense that could there be this magic that leaks in that you go, oh my God, like we always look at, Cinderella in the NCAA tournament that actually makes it to the finals and ends up getting beat. That's kind of how I feel about Jacksonville. Like, oh my God, they just don't know any better, and that's the approach of Doug Peterson of like, we're not supposed to be here. We were a terrible team last year. We're not even supposed to be here. So we're playing with house money, man. Just go, so that when you get a team like that just lets it all hang out and can do whatever, that's kind of a dangerous team. The Giants, however, coming off of that win in Minnesota, you kind of feel like even though they won, right? Even though they won, they beat the Vikings, a team that the Packers beat the hell out of. And you kind of like, yeah, we didn't think that the Vikings were that good of a football team to begin with. So why are we, overly now? Don't get me wrong; it was a good game, and Daniel Jones basically threw that franchise on his back and said, "I'll run you to a win." But when they needed to move the ball, they couldn't move the ball towards the end of the game as efficiently as they wanted to. Now they're about to face a much better defense and a much better team, and a quarterback that can do it with his legs, a quarterback that can do it with his arm, a run game, a better offensive line. They're about to face a much better team. So that's probably my lock. If I had to give you a lock, that's my lock. Now, on the other hand, I got all my friends from down in the Queen City biting their nails heavily over the Bengals heading into Buffalo. And I because my buddy was listening yesterday, he said, I can't believe you picked Buffalo. I said, you tell me if you're going to bet your house. Oh, I know. I'm not a betting man. Well, then stop it. That because we're talking about betting odds at that point and making picks. They're freaking out down there because they just feel like, the season's coming to an end. All the offensive line woes are going to cost them. And you saw what happened at the end of that game it took a defensive stand out of a defense that was getting shredded and a mistake by a quarterback to throw the ball over the goal line or attempt to get it punched out of his hands to get it run back by a D end. I mean, that's how they won the game. So it wasn't even their offense. They don't have that capability, I don't think. If they have a full complement of offensive line, yes, they do. But now, no, I don't think they do. I think the Bills are going to get them. And then that Cowboys game, I still think that 49ers defense is going to punch Dak in the face. The only question mark in that game is probably going to be whether or not Brock Purdy and the bloom comes off, so to speak, of Brock Purdy at some point. Mr. Irrelevant shows up. But other than that, it's a hell of a weekend. It's a good weekend. I'm sitting here today. I woke up today. First of all, I was downstairs last night in the bar, and I did a thing for the motorcycle ride. And I'm smoking a cigar and I'm having a beer and I'm watching TV and I'm just flipping through. I'm watching anything from shows to sports, whatever was on. And I went, holy crap, today's only Thursday. I forgot it. It just felt like a Friday yesterday. So today even feels kind of like Saturday, like we should get off the air and go watch football. And it can't get here soon enough. So I'm excited for the weekend. 877-867-1670. By the way, where are you watching the beloved Eagles tomorrow?
I don't know yet. There's a beer festival, a beer and cheese festival here in Madison that I'll be going to all day as somewhat of a pregame. And then I don't know. I haven't decided. It depends how my emotions are.
Okay.
Like, I don't think I should go to a very crowded public area and expect to keep a level head.
Okay.
You know?
Right.
So we'll see. We'll see. I'm looking forward to it.
So, in other words, I should wait by my phone, possibly, for that drunken disorderly call and you need bail money.
No, I will be. I walk everywhere. I'll be walking. So I guess you could get drunk and disorderly. There will be no, I won't be towing any lines, but who knows?
Okay.
If the game really gets bad in the second half, then we could be in one of those situations.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I can see that. I can see Ebo being at the gym, petting the cat and not coming to get you. Rowdy, Rowdy can see you're calling. He's just ignoring the phone. Ebo would answer it and go, really? Fluffy here. Fluffy's doing squats. I can't make it. Call Rowdy. And Rowdy, he's sitting at home and he's just looking at his phone going, there's no way I'm answering that. And me, I'm like, yo, what up? How much you need? Can I have your credit card number? So I can see it happening. We'd get you out of jail. Nothing wrong with that. So that's how we start off today. And then we've got quarterback songs and blue schlongs. I know that's a little weird. It's a little weird to start the day off that way, but that's the truth. We got that coming up today as well. What a day. Yep.
I would like to publicly state here on the record that I am categorically against quarterback songs before we hear them.
I am against, well, we're not going to play them here, but we're going to get to them here in a little bit. But I am against, I'm not against them. How do I put this? I'm not against them. What I'm against is if they're bad, acting like there's some kind of an anthem. You know, a lot of things are organic, you know, the Happy Schnapps combo and the Bears still suck. That's organic, right? Todd Rundgren, bang the drum. That became organic and that became a thing. Cheeseheads became a thing organically, you know. But when you write a song, you are really stepping out on the ledge because you are pinpointing it at something, saying, this is it. And a lot of the times it's so hokey and so contrived that that's not it. It instantly becomes awful and becomes, razors to your ears. So that's not a thing. But I will say this, between the the Trevor Lawrence song, almost a Joey Lawrence, between the Trevor Lawrence song and the Joey Jackpot song, I do have an affinity to the Joey Jackpot song, and I will explain when we play it. So I'll explain that when we throw it out there. So there you go. By the way, do you have any interest in the Australian Open at all?
Is that tennis?
Yes.
No, I don't.
I have none. I was out yesterday afternoon. I stopped into Woodman's. I was picking up a few things, and a woman and her husband, who pointed at me and recognized me, she said, "Hey, you're not doing much on the Australian Open." And I said, "What is your name?" And her name was Mary, and her husband's name was Joseph, not Joe, Joseph. Mary and Joseph, which I thought was weird to begin with because I'm looking around to see if baby Jesus is somewhere nearby. And I'm thinking it's after Christmas, so we're good. Probably a bad joke for many. Anyway, I looked at her and I said, very nice to meet you. What do you guys do? And they both are retired. They both live in Waukesha. They were out. Their grandkids are coming over this weekend, so they're picking up some snacks and things they're going to do with them. And Joseph is looking forward to watching football. And regarding these, do you? And
I don't care.
Right? And I said, no. I mean, there wasn't like a discussion. There wasn't like here's the reason why. There was just like, no. In the grand scheme of things, first and foremost, this is a football state. It goes Packers, Brewers, and then you really have to fight hard between the Badgers and the Bucks at times. The Bucks, obviously, more of a high right now because they're not far removed from a championship. Giannis is a international superstar, although this team looks awful right now, and I know people hate me for that, but they do. Defensively, I don't know how many 20-plus point leads they have to blow before people go, oh, there's a concern here. Everybody acts like they're going to flip a switch and turn it on and it's going to be okay. But Badger football, because we are a football state, is huge. And then you get into Badger basketball, Marquette basketball, UWM basketball, D3. We get into D3 football. So there's all of that to cover. There's not a lot, and I hate to say this because there's a lot of terrific tennis players in the area. There's not a lot of room for the Australian Open tennis discussion. We don't even talk about Wimbledon, strawberries and cream, none of that. We don't get into any of that. We don't really do too much when it comes to the Kentucky Derby or the Triple Crown. We don't get into a whole lot of that. We talk golf because that is more prevalent.
And because I'm an idiot.
And because Ben is a golf fanatic. But there are more people in the state of Wisconsin to play golf and pay attention to golf and watch golf and such than anywhere, than tennis players. So we go with that. So we do. There is a hierarchy. You're following me on this. If you had to go through, if like you're looking at the mob family, at the top of the class is the Packers, and then it starts to trickle down through the family tree. That's the way things kind of go. And somewhere, the lone three-headed cousin of some kind of off sport right there with pickleball is tennis. And so while we'll mention it if the story becomes big, if something happens, if there is something magnanimous that goes on where you have a retirement, you have a out of nowhere champion, you have something stupendous that happens. Otherwise, it really does just become somewhat white noise. So there you go. Not being rude, just giving you the hierarchy explanation of what it is we do for a living. There you go. Is that a pretty good explanation, Ben, or am I off the rails on that one?
No, good.
Okay,
good.
Just checking. Oh, by the way, Skull. I can't even do it with a straight face. Ed Donatel out. That defense they tried to bolster this year, and the defense sucked. So Ed Donatel out. Out is the defensive coordinator. Not a lot of head coaches fired, though. Did you notice that, Ben? I mean, obviously, he had a couple of jobs already that were already searching for head coaches, but not as many head coaches as there are coordinators that are looking to be picked up. Just an FYI.
Yeah, guys like Staley. I think it's those fringe guys that maybe a lot of the fans wanted out.
Yep.
Though the organization had more faith in him being kind of the poster child for that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way,
Vikings DC Jim Leonard though? Question mark.
Oh boy, that would make a lot of. And if they became a really good defense almost overnight, people would go nuts.
It'd be terrible.
They would go nuts. Yeah. And I've got one other burr under my saddle that I have to ask outwardly, and I'm going to let you ponder this momentarily. So here's two things I want to ask you. I go back years, and when Hulu first came out, Sirius XM radio first came out. Hulu, I don't know how much it was, like $20-something or $15 or something like that, and Sirius XM radio was like $25. It was relatively minimal, wasn't a lot. Today, both of those entities hit my credit card because I have both of them. I like Hulu because when I travel, I can still watch everything live through my app. Same thing with my cable. So I kind of combine the both, and I get everything wherever I travel to, and I can get it all on my phone. That's the best part. So today, I was in bed last night. I was watching Hulu, and I'm a Dateline freak. So when I want to go to sleep and I want to lay down and relax, I start to watch these new Datelines and old Datelines and stuff. Hulu used to be commercial free. And then they snuck in like 30 seconds. And it was kind of annoying, but I'm like, okay, whatever, because you're paying the premium for commercial free. That's what it was supposed to be. And then they started paying the athletes. Remember? Hulu got live sports. Remember that? And everybody's on boats made of money and money, 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 money. And I thought, here we go. So Hulu went up to 40. And then they went to 50. Hulu is now up to almost $70 a month. Anybody else getting pissed? And now, last night during my Dateline, they're running 4 minutes of commercial like every 10 minutes. It's like a regular show with tons of commercials now. It's pissed me off. So now I'm going to get rid of Hulu. But Sirius XM, I got a withdrawal today, and anything that goes over $75 when it hits my credit card, it just tells me, just because I always watch my credit cards. Today, my Sirius XM radio is $98 a month for the first. They raised the price by $20 going into 2023. And I use it a lot because I travel a lot. But anybody else notice all of this? Like, this stuff, it's not like going up like $1 or $2. It's skyrocketing. And I thought, between two entities that I use but I don't necessarily need, I'm paying over $150 a month. I was like stunned. Ben, do you use all that stuff?
No, nor do I have the money to. So my decision is made quite easy.
Okay. I'm like, okay, now I got to get rid of this stuff. I started going through because I got rid of Netflix when Netflix went up. I'm like, nope, you're done. You're done. Oh, wait a minute. No, wait a minute. No, my ass. You were supposed to be commercial free. You're supposed to provide all of this. And now you're supposed to do it for this particular price. And now you're going to raise me by $20. I'm going to send you a picture of my ass. You can kiss it, and I'm out the door. So that's what I did. But now I am done. So Hulu's goodbye. Sirius XM is goodbye. Yeah, it's like, holy mackerel. Damn. 877-867-1670. This particular rant is brought to you by our friends at Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. Next Friday at this time, we will be sitting inside the Distillery in Grafton. If you are in the area, the doors open up at 11, by the way. Next week, we'll be on the air, but the doors will not be open yet. They'll still be preparing, getting ready. The doors open at 11. 11 to 2, we're going to be there, live and in person. Stop by, and right there on site that day in person, you can win yourself a 55-inch big screen TV, compliments of our friends at Bud Light, who are giving away all kinds of tchotchkes, T-shirts, koozies, all that kind of stuff. We got all that stuff coming up, so come out and grab some lunch. Do a little bit of a NFC and AFC championship preview with us next weekend. We may have a guest or two in person. We'll have to wait and see. And then, obviously, we're going to talk about the upcoming football weekend. So looking forward to it. Plus, they have really great food, good whiskeys, all that kind of stuff. So come on out. It is going to be the Distillery in Grafton next Friday, a week from today. We're going to be there. Stop by, say hi. We got more after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
So there you have it. 877-867-1670, 877-1670. If you want to give us a shout, give us a call. Let's see here. Wayne says, by the way, Hulu, we're paying $14.99. Okay, I got to look into that. I gotta look into that. It's like holy mackerel. Let's see here. I got all kinds of people giving me financial advice for all these different entities now. This is awesome. And I'm going to use every damn one of them, to be honest with you. Anything I can get, because it's ridiculous. It's like your phone company. They offer all the great specials. Then you walk in and go, hey, I'm way up there in my bill. Can you do something? So I ended up leaving, and because I had been with Verizon for almost 20 years, and I left. They called me up the next day and said, what do we got to do to get you back? And I said, I told you, and you had a shot at it. And oh my God. And then they gave me like a ridiculously low bill. And I'm like, okay, then switch it back, but don't ever do it again. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Talk to you later. Ben, so where do we want to go with this? Because we've got a hell of a weekend coming up. We got football. We've got all kinds of craziness when it comes to quarterback songs. I do believe, by the way, that when it comes to the coaching carousel, was there a coach, by the way, let me ask you this. Is there a coach that you thought should have been fired and wasn't?
It's a good question. I'm not a Brandon Staley fan. I think oftentimes in the biggest moments he is outcoached, and it's kind of inexplicable to lose a game when you were up 27-0. I would have loved to see Herbert actually get a real offensive coach there. Mm-hmm. So he'd be the one. But I say that without going through all the situations. Right. That's off the top of mind.
Yeah, I obviously Indianapolis looking for a coach, Houston, Arizona Cardinals, Denver Broncos. You knew those teams would be, but yeah, there's this whole level of coaching right now, and I'm kind of like wondering who goes in on the and when think about this for a minute. Do you think the next season, if they have another season like this, that Matt LaFleur would be fired? Think about that. Do you think Matt LaFleur would be fired, Ben, if they have another, 8-9 season and miss the postseason?
Depending on the context of it, I would say no. If Joe Barry's his defensive coordinator and they lose because of the defense, then maybe you would just clean house entirely.
Yep.
But a question I would pose to that is, can we truly learn about Matt LaFleur, the coach, when Aaron Rodgers is still the quarterback? And that's not saying they can't succeed, but long term, when we talk about his offense and what the team could look like under him, are we really able to learn how good of a coach he is with Aaron Rodgers still there?
Yeah. Well, and Pac-Fan brings up a good question. He says, say this. Say Rodgers comes back and Jordan Love, Packers get an offer, for whatever. And they say, oh, man, we can't pass this up. And Jordan Love is traded. Picking at 15, if, say, the Packers would take a quarterback, would people go nuts? And my answer to that is probably, but I'd have to see what's available around him. Are you passing on this top-notch wideout? Are you passing on a top-end pass rusher? Boy. Because then you would be without a quarterback, backup. You have then all your eggs in the Aaron Rodgers basket. And then let's just say he would decide, you know what, I'm done after this year. Now you're left standing there with your hand out, nothing in it. And yeah, boy. I think you would have to know if Rodgers has another year after this in him. If you believe, because I would assume that the conversation, as Andrew Brandt was with us yesterday, I would assume that the conversation would be, as the agent continues to call, saying, what's going on, man? Come on. And as he said, no first-round pick. It's unprecedented for a first-round pick to sit for 4 years. So he's got to be like saying, hey, play us or trade us, man. Play us or trade us. But if you know the keys to the kingdom for one of the most storied franchises is coming, would you wait an extra year? I mean, you're getting paid to basically do nothing. And you're learning behind, what is seemingly one of the best. But players want to play. I gotta think that he's probably looking around the rest of the league going, God, look at what the money is for these guys. And if I'd have been playing, I'd already be at, now if he's got his own confidence, not to say he would be able at that level, but he's got to be saying, look at what Joe Burrow's about to get paid. Look at what Lamar Jackson's going to get paid. Look at what the ceiling has been raised so high because of the Deshaun Watson. Look at the money I could be making. And instead I'm sitting here behind this guy who doesn't know if he does or doesn't want to come back. And I should be playing football. I mean, man, if I'm him, I'm probably saying, yeah, I need to go show my wares. But then is the best thing for your career and the next contract to go to a new system, go to a new team, go to guys that are unfamiliar, and then to be the man? Because if you don't have success, you've literally just shot yourself in the foot. It is a terrible place to be right now, I would assume. That's a great question. It's a great question. 877-867-1670. Hit us up again, 877-867-1670. Here's the other one, and this was from Shepard, who says, what happens if they get rid of Jordan Love and he becomes incredibly successful in whatever system he goes to? How are Packers fans going to feel then? That's a great question. Let me deal with that when we come back, because I got my sense on that. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. This morning, it did make a stop to Quick Trip. Had to go. Kristen's been sick, so she was here she's here now, but she was here and a little under the weather. And the price of eggs and all that kind of crap was going up, but I still went up, grabbed some eggs at Quick Trip, grabbed some orange juice at Quick Trip. They've got everything. They got everything. There was even NyQuil there. So picked up some of that too. So just go back to bed, go get some sleep, whatever. I don't know if we'll be doing much tonight or this weekend. But that being said, Quick Trip's got it all. And it was just awesome. You run in, you use your Quick Rewards card, pick up a couple of things, eggs, milk, orange juice, out the door. There you go. Good stuff from our friends at Quick Trip. I always love them, always love using them. And they're right up. They're convenient for damn near everybody in the state of Wisconsin, which is the best part about it. And they're locally owned. That is our friends at Quick Trip.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Even when the weather outside is frightful, your energy bill could be much more delightful. Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offers some of the most energy efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep the cold outside where it belongs. You'll help kick the January blues when you choose to book by the 31st for 0% interest up to 2029. You heard that right. No interest up to the year 2029 if you book by January 31st. Pella's premium wood windows and patio doors feature distinguished craftsmanship and nearly endless possibilities, with maximum design flexibility in dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Hurry! To get the 0% interest up to 2029, you have to book by January 31st. Visit PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
And a big announcement that Foo Fighters are coming as a part of the Harley Davidson 120th. And that was all over social media yesterday. I was watching that, and they're excited. I was talking to my buddy Craig Winger, who is the general manager out at Wisconsin Harley Davidson. Him and I were talking yesterday. And he's excited. I mean, they're a big sponsor of ours going out to Super Bowl and such as a lot of our on-site broadcasts, a lot of our partners for a lot of these sponsors are. But we were talking about the new motorcycles, and they've got the anniversary CBO that's coming out. But they've got some of these new bikes that are starting to hit the showroom floors. So all over. But they have got a huge selection of both new and used. A lot of motor clothes. Anniversary stuff is starting to arrive. You got to check out Wisconsin Harley Davidson. Get it first, get it foremost, and get it before it's gone. So head out to Wisconsin Harley Davidson. Go to wishd.com. The website's one thing, but it doesn't do it justice. It really doesn't. You got to stop in. Whether it's going in for motor clothes, parts and accessories, going into the clearance room, shoes, leathers, hats, tchotchkes, whatever it happens to be, a huge showroom. Check out Wisconsin Harley Davidson. Go to wishd.com, but they're right on Highway 67 in Oconomowoc, just south of 94. You can't miss it. But it is by far one of the biggest and the best dealerships in the state of Wisconsin. Stop in. That's Wisconsin Harley Davidson right there on Highway 67 in Oconomowoc. 877-867-1670. So here's a thought. Okay, when we were going back to what Pack fans said about if the Packers should trade away Jordan Love, and if they do, and do they take a quarterback, would Packers fans be pissed? Think about this, though, what the narrative would be here. I'm going to take it a step further, Pack fan. And Ben, you tell me, let's give you this scenario. And I know it's weird, but we're just kind of doing the what if thing. Let's say Rodgers comes back, which I believe he is. And very quietly, you got Jordan Love, his representation saying, hey, let us go, man. We don't know what the future is going to be. We don't want to sit here 4 or 5 years behind this guy. Let us go. Let us start working trades. And the Packers are like, okay, we'll do that. So the Packers get, a number 1 or a number 2, whatever it is for Jordan Love. And he leaves, right? Say he goes to the Jets. Or say he goes to the Raiders. He goes to the Raiders. And the Raiders are dysfunctional, but he gets there and he just runs the offense. And Josh the Midas, and suddenly things begin to really materialize. Or Salah, who probably pretty well through Matter, he brings him in and things begin to materialize. And Aaron Rodgers goes through another year, a bad Joe Barry year, another year of the offense being just dysfunctional the way it is, because they're not going to do a whole lot of changes there other than maybe an addition or two. They're strapped with money, the whole thing. And it happens again. 8-9, just on the outside looking into the playoffs. What happens if Jordan Love takes the Jets or the Raiders or one of those teams to the postseason and has success? What happens then? What happens to the likability factor, the acceptance factor of Gutekunst? What happens to the likability and acceptance factor of Rodgers? Think of that. Because the last thing people will remember is the guy that you kept waffling on back and forth and back and forth and back and forth went on to success, while the franchise was hung with the albatross of the quarterback that everybody thought had a little more left in the tank. Think about that. Then you have to, because the Packers have to take into consideration the options and all that kind of stuff and the money that's going to come with that and everything. So they have all of that hanging over their head with Jordan Love. But think of that for a minute. That's strictly giving you worst case scenario. Now, on the other hand, what happens if Aaron Rodgers comes back and sticks it to everybody, basically uses all the consternation this year and uses as a chip on his shoulder, and he comes back and plays extremely well and rides off into the sunset with the Lombardi Trophy hoisted high. Well, then everybody's a god, right? Old boy Uncle Mitch, Matt Mitchell, Action Network. He's going to be joining us coming up next, so stay tuned for that. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers' Aaron Rodgers made it known this week he expects to see 5 or 6 of his teammates and closest friends still on the roster if he decides to return to Green Bay. One of Jordan Love's closest friends is Packers linebacker Chris Barnes. Both were teammates at Liberty High School in Bakersfield, California.
Chris had all the offers, things like that in high school. And then, went to Utah State, and I was doing my thing and started getting the looks. But, he had his looks as well. And then, draft night, he was at my house for the draft and doing his thing and trying to figure out what was going to be his situation. And, he got the call that, the Packers wanted him to, come out of camp and things like that, sign as a free agent. And I was like, man, that's crazy. We both go to the Packers. So, it just worked out.
In NFL news, the Vikings fired defensive coordinator Ed Donatel. The Dolphins parted ways with their defensive coordinator, Josh Boyer. In Dallas, Mike McCarthy was asked what it was like to be back in the playoffs and facing the 49ers on Sunday.
Players always talk about their juiced up at this time of year. Is your staff also kind of like that now?
My dad's here again, asking questions already knows the answer to. Yeah, of course we are. Okay, I didn't shave today, didn't sleep much, but yeah, we're excited. It's tremendous. Yeah, it's Thursday. Yeah, no, we're definitely jacked up.
That's Mike McCarthy. I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
Bingo is back. The steakhouse is open. The club is open. They are rocking. And everything's happening down again at the Potawatomi Hotel Casino. It took a while to get everything back open after the pandemic, but they're wide open now. And want you to come down. Stay and play packages available. Go to paysbig.com. That's paysbig.com. See everything at Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. Halved offer. That's paysbig.com, paysbig.com. Our buddy Matt Mitchell of the Action Network joining us on the hotline. Matt, how you doing, pal?
I'm doing great, Bill. How are you?
I'm good. First of all, let me ask you this. Over the last week with the Jacksonville Jaguars getting a win and some of these lesser teams, we thought, oh, boy, this is like their moment to shine. Are some of the casinos, are they smiling over all of this, or are people going big on some of the underdogs?
Ultimately, casinos want handle. They want the maximum amount of bets placed, and seeing Cincinnati advance, Buffalo advance, a Giants-Eagles matchup, a Cowboys-San Francisco matchup. That's basically exactly what they wanted, and ultimately in service to, ideally, absolute banger conference championship games next weekend, I think, is the ultimate prize.
So let's start off. We've got the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs favored by 9. And I think a lot of people are looking at the Cinderella story of Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, Doug Peterson is a guy that's got the hearts of many after getting fired in Philadelphia, not because of his fault, really, but because more of the upper management. And now here we go again, a guy that's got his team in the postseason. Give me your thoughts on that 9-point spread.
So interestingly enough, 3 of the 5 best playoff coaches against the spread in the last 20 years play this weekend. Mike McCarthy and Kyle Shanahan, they play each other. And then Doug Peterson, 6-1 against the spread in his time as a coach in the postseason. He is entering this game, sure, high as a kite off of that improbable victory against the Chargers. But the story of this game for me is the referee. So Sean Hockley is working this game. He's the head referee. Unders hit at nearly 57% in all of his games. Sean Hockley, son of Ed Hockley, the former muscle-bound referee that some of the older listeners will remember. Sean has developed a reputation as loving to be kind of the heel, loves to get the boos from the home crowd, calls a lot of untimely penalties. So I'm looking at the under 52.5 in this one. The Chiefs are favored in their 14th straight playoff game, the longest streak of being a favorite in the Super Bowl era. So a lot of money coming in on Kansas City, but this number, 8.5, 9 points, that's too many for me. I think you take Jacksonville, but I can't blame anybody if they want to just stay away or lay it with the Chiefs.
I didn't know that officials mean that much in the betting world.
It depends. It depends if some show a clear bias, typically over or under, because they're just human, especially these younger referees, and they can be swayed by the kind of the boos and the hollering one way or the other. Some shield away from it. They kind of keep their whistle in their pocket. But others, like Sean, kind of embrace it.
You got the Eagles hosting the Giants. Ben Kenny holding his breath and praying to God that it isn't a miserable night. He's already set himself up for the mental aspect of gloom and doom. But give me your thoughts on the Eagles 7.5-point favorites on the Giants.
Well, I might as well, for his sake, I might as well add that Cleet Blakeman is the referee for this one. It's his 12th playoff game. In his previous 11, underdogs are 9-2 against the spread. So certainly a tick in the Giants' favor for this one. But ultimately, we talk about this the third straight week we talked about it. Daniel Jones, king of the road. So there's certainly a lot of momentum towards backing Daniel Jones and the Giants in this one. But another game that, these teams played each other twice already. The Eagles do so many things on offense that the Giants cannot stop. The Giants linebackers are dreadful. I think the line staying at 7.5 at most books is very dubious and tells you what they think of the Giants' chances here. If the Giants can't hang with them on the scoreboard, this could get ugly in a hurry for them. I know a few sharp bettors are on the Giants, but a lot of our team like the Eagles in a blowout here. I'm not terribly worried about the Giants hanging with the Eagles here. I think Philly might run away with this one.
Ben, do you feel better now?
I do. I'm glad someone aside from you said it.
I there you go. I called that, so I'm liking that. Okay, I just wanted to make sure you're okay because when we started talking Eagles, I figured you in the studio were throwing a rope up over a beam somewhere at this point if things would have gone negative.
I mean, listen, I hate Cleet Blakeman, so let's get that out of the way. I don't feel good about that part of it.
There we go. Okay, now we get, Matt, to your Buffalo Bills, and I just cannot get past the offensive line of the Cincinnati Bengals. That is so bad, and they couldn't move the ball when they needed to against Baltimore. Baltimore's defense is good, but they're not great, and they shut down Jamar Chase, although Joe Burrow felt they had a really good game plan in place the last time these two teams got together. Unfortunately, DeMar Hamlin went down on the field, and we all know that situation. But now they come back. Now they get to kind of run it back again and not reveal much of anything. But I just don't think they get it done on the road. I think they're off. Again, here we are talking about the Bengals in the postseason, but their offensive line sucks. I just don't think they can beat the Bills.
Yeah, they lost another starting guard. So they'll be down 3 starting offensive linemen for this one. It's a mash unit up front, and I've never seen the Bengals in a situation where Joe Burrow's about as smart as it gets for young quarterbacks, and they were in several situations where they just need to drop back and not take a negative play. Incompletion, completion, drop pass, whatever would have been fine, and they took a sack. That is really speaks to how absolutely out to lunch this offensive line is for Cincinnati right now, and why we saw this game open at Bills by 6.5, drop almost to 3.5, but then have settled back closer to that original line. So a lot of people took that 6.5 early. It got swallowed up, but then lots of sharp money coming back on Buffalo. And I might as well toss in the referee here, Carl Jeffers. He has reffed 11. He's reffed 11 playoff games in his career. Under is 10-1, going under by almost 2 touchdowns a game, which is remarkable. So I don't think the Bengals can hang in this one. I'm a little biased. The number makes me a little nauseous, but I got a lot less nauseous when I saw that Bengals performance against Baltimore. If the Bills don't drop a 50-yard pass and another touchdown is overturned on review, that could have been 28-6 at halftime, and we're having a different conversation. So, yeah, I think the Bills at home get this one done.
I still think that the only way the Bengals could win was to have a defensive lineman punch the ball out as the offense of Baltimore drove the field easily and was about to punch it in for the lead. And then all of a sudden it turns the other way on that particular play. I just don't have faith in Cincinnati. Then you've got a jovial Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys heading into a Levi Stadium, taking on Mr. Irrelevant and company and San Francisco 4-point favorites. Give me your thoughts there.
I'm taking. I know Kyle Shanahan's a genius. I know he works his magic with these teams. San Francisco's almost no decent quarterback during their entire season. They've played, I believe, 2 teams with a positive point differential, and one of them was Seattle, who's terrible. So I don't know why I would be using my own money to back Brock Purdy as a home favorite in a divisional round playoff game against a legitimate defense. So I think the total is too high. I took it under as soon as I saw it at 47.5. It's down a little bit. I think Purdy's in for a rude awakening. He made a number of mistakes that I saw against a Seattle defense that's absolutely dreadful last week and got bailed out by their incompetence. So yeah, I think people are saying this is like buying high on Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. I think it's the opposite. I think people are buying high on San Francisco and Brock Purdy. So I like Dallas on the money line plus 165. I like the under. I think the Brock Purdy train comes to a halt this weekend.
You and Ben are kind of thinking the same way. There you go. Matt, appreciate it as always.
No.
You've got the betting podcast down on the Action Network as well, and people can follow that. Give that a shout real quick.
Oh, yeah. Anyone who's looking for more info, listen to the Action Network podcast with 4 episodes out this week.
Perfect. Good stuff, Matt. We'll talk again next week.
Thanks, Bill. Good luck, everybody.
See you, bud. There you go. That's brought to you by our friends at Potawatomi Hotel Casino. PotawatomiPaysBig.com. That is PaysBig.com. Again, PaysBig.com. Potawatomi Hotel Casino. Great stuff. Stay tuned. 1 hour down. 3 more to go on this fun Friday. And we haven't even gotten to schlongs and songs and junk of all kinds. Stay tuned. More after this.
COVID-19 issues that also forced them to postpone their game on Wednesday against Iowa. Now, a school official said Wisconsin is working with Northwestern and the Big Ten to reschedule the game. This is the second time the Badgers have lost a game this year, with the first coming against Grambling State at the end of December due to that school's inability to make it to Madison as a result of the weather. The Badgers now won't play until Wednesday when it travels to Maryland. The Badgers beat the Terrapins earlier this season at home. The Milwaukee Bucks are heading to Cleveland tomorrow to take on the Cavaliers. The Deer currently sit second in the East and the Cavs fifth, having won 6 of their last 10 games. Now, it's unclear if Giannis Antetokounmpo will make his return to the court, as he's missed the last 4 games with knee soreness. Meanwhile, the NBA released the final fan voting totals for the All-Star game, and Giannis has overtaken Kevin Durant for the first spot in the East. If it stays that way, Antetokounmpo will serve as one of the captains for the All-Star teams.
You're worth so much more. Have you ever had the choice to accumulate wealth or go into debt? Let's play Would You Rather. Would you rather have $190,000 in total compensation or be $29,000 in debt? That's the choice between paying for a bachelor's degree that might not even land you a job or an apprenticeship with Liuna that will lead to job security, a pension, stability, and a lifetime of great wages. You're worth so much more. Go to liunawisconsin.org/join to learn how to accumulate wealth instead of debt.
Well, before the NCAA's transfer portal closed, one last Wisconsin player went in. Wide receiver Dean Ingram announced his time in Madison was done after 3 seasons. Ingram caught 13 passes last year, while also serving as the team's punt returner. Meanwhile, linebacker CJ Getz said he'll be sticking around for a 6th year. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Sunset Grill right down there in the Cove. Neat place to go. Watch the sunset literally down there. But they've got karaoke and all kinds of stuff going on, entertainment on the weekend, terrific food. Stop in and see our friends at the Sunset Grill on Pewaukee Lake. Just make the round. Sunset, Curly's Waterfront, back to Sunset, back to Curly. Stop at the Smoky Bait Shop, back to Sunset. There you go. You can do the whole thing this week. Not a bad way to go. 877-867-1670. Ben Kenny along for the ride, producing the program. I'm Bill Michaels, bringing in our buddy Mark Schofield, SB Nation. And Mark, boy, let's start off with the coaching carousels right now, because it's not the way it was on, say, Black Monday, when usually you got this myriad of firings and 7 and 8 and 9 jobs are open. We got, 4 or something like that? 5? I think it's not a huge amount. It's more coordinators getting canned than head coaches.
Yeah, Bill, and it's great to be with you today. And it has sort of played out differently than we've seen in years past. Typically, like you said, there's a flood of moves at the start. There's a lot of head coaching changes that are announced right on that first Monday after the season ends. There's a lot of head coaching movement. It's been, a bit, muted, I'd say. It's slower this season. I think, like you said, there's been a lot of coordinator movement that we're seeing. Certainly, with the Vikings just parted ways with their defensive coordinator. I think part of that, is due to the fact you've got first-year head coaches, new head coaches that are stepping into some situations, or younger coaches, like, for example, the Braden Staley situation down in Los Angeles, where there's been a lot of frustration with that Chargers offense. And, there were some that thought that Staley himself might sort of be, on the hot seat, at least after the way that season ended. He played some of the starters in week 18, and then Mike Williams can't go on the wild card game. You blow that lead. It's Joe Lombardi, the offensive coordinator, that takes the fall. And so, maybe this is a trend. Maybe this is sort of a one-off season where it's more coordinators that are facing the brunt of some failures down the end of the season or down the stretch. But it's been a different sort of hiring cycle, to say the least.
So let me ask you this. When it comes to the head coaches, because usually what happens is an offensive coach gets fired and a defensive coach comes in. And we know Eric Bieniemy's gotten a lot of play, and they've been a lot of questions why he doesn't have a head coaching gig. It's mainly for the fact that he's still working in the postseason. But who are some of the hotter candidates, I guess, that are out there that really have one side of the ball or the other? I don't want to say experience, because not many of them are head coaches. But when you look at this, who needs what?
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that, Bill. We typically see this go in cycles where, a team that has, take the Denver Broncos job, for example. They just part ways with Nathaniel Hackett, obviously an offensive-minded head coach, offensive coordinator background. And generally what we would see is, okay, you go in a different direction now. You're going to go with a defensive coordinator, defensive-minded coach. And frankly, that's sort of what happened in Denver to begin with, because they part ways with Vic Fangio, defensive coordinator background. They go with the offensive coach. But we're also seeing, look at the 7 of the 8 teams left standing right now. Their head coaches have offensive backgrounds. With the way that this game is trending right now, with the way that, we're leading into the passing game, younger quarterbacks are playing earlier in their careers. So maybe you want somebody with that offensive background to put them in a position to be successful. We might see teams like, say, Denver go offense. There's a lot of rumblings about perhaps Sean Payton, or maybe they go with a different offensive mind. And so you might see, coaches like Shane Steichen, for example, the offensive coordinator in Philadelphia. He's getting a lot of attention right now. Kellen Moore is obviously getting a lot of buzz right now, the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. Sean Payton's return to coaching is also, again, offensive-minded coach. So you might see teams sort of double down on offense. That doesn't mean that there aren't smart defensive minds out there. One of the names that's at the top of many lists right now, DeMeco Ryans, the defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. It seems like he's, put himself to the top of head coaching cycle lists. Dan Quinn and the job that he's done, sort of reinventing his own defensive philosophy down in Dallas. He's a name to watch right now. Jonathan Gannon, the defensive coordinator for the Eagles, is another name to watch during this hiring process. And so it'll be interesting to see if that sort of offense-defense flip continues, or if teams continue to lean into the idea of, this trend of hiring offensive-minded head coaches.
I wanted to ask about some of the teams that obviously have coordinator positions that are open. When you look at, say, like Ed Donatel gets canned, that defense was supposed to be better in Minnesota, and they weren't. As a matter of fact, they looked rather inept. They put a lot of stock into that, a lot of money into that, and it didn't work out. And we know that was their Achilles heel, but also they've got quarterback to think about. They've got some other positions to think about. Give me your thoughts on a team who's right there, like Minnesota. They're right there, but they can't get over that hump, so they fire Ed Donatel.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like, look, that defense had struggled over the past couple of seasons and certainly struggled this year. It's going to be an area of concern headed into the offseason. When you look at, we start seeing mock drafts and free agency discussion, there's going to be a lot of attention paid to sort of how the Vikings address the defensive side of the ball. But I think once the dust sort of settles and we get, some coordinators moving up, like if Dan Quinn decides to, take a head coaching job somewhere, I think, Ed Donatel is going to get looked at for another DC job. I think it was just sort of a circumstance where, they had some roster construction problems on the defensive side of the ball in Minnesota. Some of the things sort of didn't work out that they were trying to do schematically, but I still think that it was a good defensive line. He's probably going to get some looks pretty quickly, depending on how the rest of the sort of hiring cycle works out. So I think that's important to keep in mind. And we're also going to continue to see, the sort of Vic Fangio tree of defensive philosophy, has sort of expanded around the NFL. The too high looks and the things that we're all talking about all season long, how do you combat some of the offenses we're seeing today? And Donatel was part of that. He spent some time under Fangio, both in Denver and before that in Chicago as their defensive backs coach. So if organizations are going to continue to lean into that defensive philosophy, somebody with that background is going to get looks for jobs, even with the way things ended in Minnesota.
Talking with Mark Schofield of SB Nation, joining us on the phone, and also at Mark Schofield over on Twitter. So, Mark, obviously we got a situation in Green Bay where whether or not they're going to pick up that fifth year of Jordan Love, they've got Aaron Rodgers deciding to come back at some point. They got a lot of money tied up. They're keeping Joe Barry. I mean, give me your thoughts on the Packers organization.
Yeah, I mean, it was fascinating to watch this Packers team evolve over the, recently dating back to last season, how they sort of constructed things from a roster standpoint. The expectations that this defense was going to be a big part of their run this year, that didn't come together until later in the season, as we talked about. The concerns over Rodgers getting on the same page with some of these younger receivers took longer than we anticipated. They make this run to get into a win-it-in situation in Week 18, and they don't get it done. Obviously, the first big domino is Aaron Rodgers. What does he decide to do? Does he decide to come back? Because he is, just one season removed from an MVP run, and I think he could still play at a very high level. And as we talked about a couple weeks ago, when we saw late in the season, Rodgers start to really develop that chemistry with Watson and these younger receivers, I remember saying, look, this might be big for them potentially getting in the playoffs, but it might also be big for Rodgers deciding to come back next year. Now, whether he does or doesn't, that's up in the air. The Jordan Love piece of that probably waits on that decision. So I think we're all sort of stuck in a wait and see mode with what does Rodgers decide to do. Now, he said, I know you guys talked about this a lot this week already, that he understands that decisions have to be made quickly and he's going to make his quickly. But until that first piece falls into place, we're kind of in a wait and see mode.
The team itself, they misfired in many different areas. Obviously, the shuffling on the offensive line, some of the injuries, they had to wait for guys to kind of become cohesive again. The defense, they lost Rashawn Gary, they lost Stokes in the backfield. How far away are they, in your opinion? If, say, they run this thing back, how far away are they? What do they need, in your opinion, for this team to go from being an outside-in looker when it comes to the postseason to being a legitimate Super Bowl contender?
I don't think they're far away, Bill. I mean, I really don't. I think losing Gary hurt, because what he was doing early in the season from a pass rushing standpoint, some of the plays that he made. I mean, I've got a sack against New England and seared into my brain that showed just how effective he can be off the edge. I think that certainly hurt. Cohesiveness along the offensive line is certainly an area that I think they need to address. Free agency draft, whatever, you have to find your best five to get in front of the quarterback, whether it is Rodgers, whether it is somebody else. But I don't think this team's far away. I think it's just, the run we saw at the last half of the season was what we were expecting to see from this team. And I think, fixing the offense, you've got Rodgers healthy, having that the way we expected it to when the year began, have consistency throughout the season. this is a team that I think can make another run next year. Again, the Rodgers component to that is a big question.
Then I got to ask you about the games coming up this weekend. Let's start with the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Kansas City Chiefs. And Jaguars, obviously the underdog, the Chiefs, the top spot in the AFC. But Jacksonville's riding this little bit of magic that they had in that second half of that game last week. Did they run out of magic, or are they now feeling it? And they got, with playing with house money, you just throw everything on the table and you're like, here we go, and becomes a dangerous team.
Yeah, I mean, I think the sort of house money scenario is a tough one. We saw something similar last week between Buffalo and Miami. Miami on the road, down to their third-string quarterback, nothing to lose. They almost stole that one. And I think Jacksonville's in a sort of similar situation where they got a playoff win. Most people sort of look at Jacksonville and think, they're probably a year or maybe even 2 years ahead of schedule to be in the divisional round this year. I don't think people expected that. So there is that sort of house money element that makes them a dangerous team to face. But they're going up against a team that has evolved over the past couple of seasons. It's been fascinating to watch the evolution of Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs offense, and going from this sort of explosive downfield passing game to, this year they've been a little bit more patient. They've spread the ball around. They've used 3 tight ends at times to create some big plays. It's a team that's obviously playoff tested and experienced. They've been in a lot of big games. And so I think, Jacksonville might come in with nothing to lose, but it's not like, Kansas City is going to panic. They're going to be ready for this game. And, I think Jacksonville's, a little magical run here. And this weekend, I expect Kansas City to win this game. I expect Mahomes to play well. He played very well against Jacksonville when these two teams met earlier this season. And what's fascinating to think about, I'm actually writing about this right now, the drop 8 coverages that we saw give Mahomes some fits last year, particularly in the AFC Championship game, been much better against those this year. Jacksonville tried it 5 times in their regular season meeting. Mahomes hit on all 5 throws for 2 touchdowns. And so, I think he's going to be able to figure this defense out as well as the Jaguars defense has been playing down the stretch. I think Mahomes has a pretty big day.
The Giants on the road taking on the Eagles, obviously with Jalen Hurts in the shoulder, nobody really knows what he's capable of. I get the sense that he's ripping and raring to go. And this whole thing about holding him back and changing their offense, it's like, there is no tomorrow if you lose. So you got to let it all hang out. I think the Eagles have a legitimate shot at running away with this game.
I think so too. I mean, so much of what the Eagles do on offense, it starts with Jalen Hurts. And I think he's going to be as close to 100% as somebody gets at this point in the season, even though he's coming off that shoulder injury. I think you're absolutely right. One of the things that stands out about Jalen Hurts, one of the things that, stood out studying him when he was coming out of college and entering the draft was that, competitive toughness, those leadership qualities. In the divisional round, his second playoff game, but his first playoff game this year, I don't think they're going to hold anything back. I think their entire playbook's going to be open. They're going to use him in the run game. They're going to be the offense that they've been all season long. And I think, look, credit to Brian Dable, credit to Daniel Jones, and everything the Giants have done this year. It's a fantastic season. This is a team that I think you might say is 2 or 3 years ahead of schedule, given how quick the turnaround has been and where that team was from a cap and roster standpoint last spring. It's been an incredible story from the Giants, but I do think that story ends Saturday night.
Talk with Mark Schofield, SB Nation. Couple more things. An emotional game from the last time these two teams met, Cincinnati and Buffalo. This time, though, it's in Buffalo, and this is going to be a fans game. This is going to be a DeMar Hamlin remembrance game. Yeah, he's doing great. I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up. Meanwhile, Cincinnati has an ailing offensive line, couldn't move the ball real well in the second half. Jamar Chase was basically shut down. Give me your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I still think this is going to be a very good game and a very close game. I think both teams, we sort of talked a minute ago about how Buffalo faced a team in Miami that had, nothing to lose and sort of put everything on the table. So that was a sort of tough matchup for them. Cincinnati had a tough matchup with Baltimore. Those are, division rivals. They know each other. Those are emotional games. In Baltimore, they're able to get pressure on Burrow. Like you said, that offensive line is banged up. But I think in this game, you're going to see from Burrow, what we've seen from him this season. Second fastest time to throw this year behind only Tom Brady. He was the fastest in time to throw last week against those Baltimore Ravens. He's going to be quick, be decisive, get the ball out quickly, try to limit any sort of pressure and minimize the risk from that banged up offensive line. So I think Cincinnati is going to score some points. Josh Allen has made some mistakes. Teams have found some ways to sort of create opportunities against this Bills offense. And, the Bengals defensive coordinator, there's a name, Romano, that should be in the hiring cycle as well. He's done a fantastic job. So I think the Bengals make this a close game. I still think Buffalo probably squeaks this one out, 24-21 or something like that. But I expect a very good game in this one.
Last one, you got the Cowboys and the 49ers, and the Cowboys on short rest, which is what everybody in Dallas is talking about. They feel everything's completely unfair and against them. In the meantime, you got Mr. Irrelevant quarterbacking the 49ers in this one.
Yeah, and I think this is perhaps the game of the week just because of the things we're going to see, from both offenses against these defenses, the matchup between Kyle Shanahan and Dan Quinn, two coaches that obviously know each other well. The matchup when DeMeco Ryans is on defense, the Niners defense is on the field against Kellen Moore. A lot of people are sort of wondering, are we going to see sort of the bad Brock Purdy game? He's been playing so well, but, you look at some of the throws, even last week against the Seahawks where, they were completions, but, a defender takes a different step, a different angle, and maybe it goes the other way. Is this the week that luck finally breaks for Purdy? Who knows? But I think this is the most fascinating game of the week from an X's and O's standpoint. I'm excited to watch it. I think the Niners win this game. I do think it's going to be close, another field goal type of game. But I think that 21 personnel package they have with McCaffrey and Debo and the different ways they can make you as a defense run no matter what you do, that ultimately is going to be huge on Sunday night.
Always great to talk to you, my friend. I appreciate it, and we'll talk again next week, okay?
Thanks so much, Bill. Have a great weekend and enjoy the games, everyone.
You too. Thanks, Mark. Mark Schofield, SB Nation, joining us. You can get his stuff at Mark Schofield. Don't forget, go to SB Nation, read all about everything that he was talking about in the articles that he's putting together now. But just a good guy. And he actually moved from Wednesday to today because his time slot, we brought in Kevin Harlan, and he was more than willing to kind of negotiate that. So thanks to him for doing that for us as well. Hey, don't forget, boat show coming up. Skipper Buds is going to be there. They want me to remind you, stop over to the Skipper Buds display. Tell them I sent you. Ask for Todd if you're looking for a boat. Doesn't matter whether it's a big yacht, down to a pontoon, fishing boat, new boat, used boat, whatever it is. They've got boats of all types, but stop and see them at the boat show and make sure you use the show. Say, hey, I listen and hear about you guys all the time on the Bill Michaels show. They give you a discount, give you a good deal. That's the best part about it. Check out our friend, especially if Todd's there. Ask for Todd, who is the GM of the Skipper Buds in Pewaukee. They're making deals right there on site, so make sure you tell them we said hi. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels show coming up right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Even when the weather outside is frightful, your energy bill could be much more delightful. Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offers some of the most energy-efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep the cold outside where it belongs. You'll help kick the January blues when you choose to book by the 31st for 0% interest up to 2029. You heard that right. No interest up to the year 2029 if you book by January 31st. Paula's premium wood windows and patio doors feature distinguished craftsmanship and nearly endless possibilities. With maximum design flexibility in dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Hurry. To get the 0% interest up to 2029, you have to book by January 31st. Visit PaulaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show on the air. I'm telling you, we got a lot of good stuff coming up. A week from today, we are going to be at the Distillery in Grafton. The Distillery in Grafton, a week from today. We're going to be there for the show, and they open up at 11, but we're going to on the air 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and we'll be there live and looking forward to it in so many different ways, and giving away a 55-inch big screen TV right then and there. And they are going to have Bud Light specials. They got some whiskey specials. Come out for lunch, hang out with us, or just stop in. You say hi, take back off. But somebody is going to walk away with a brand new 55-inch big screen TV. Then, 2 weeks from today, I am happy to announce we're going to be at Stoley's Hog Alley. Now, I've been wanting to do this a while because he just reopened. They completely gutted and kind of blew out the backside, and then they put a second deck on it. The renovation is done. They wanted to get up and running first to make sure they could cover everything. But 2 weeks from today, we are going to be doing our Super Bowl preview, and we're going to be heading to Stoley's Hog Alley on Friday the 3rd. Friday the 3rd, February 3rd. We're going to be there, and really looking forward to that. And doing our Super Bowl preview show. We're going to have some giveaways that day as well. But the day before, on Friday or on Thursday the 2nd, ladies listen up, or guys listen to the ladies. Let them know, because they have a ladies shopping event coming up at Stoley's. That's right. There's going to be door prizes, raffles, food and drink specials. So they say, as they put it, tag your besties. Guys, just stay away. Go hang out. Go do something else. So Thursday night, February 2nd, Stoley Hog Alley, it's a ladies takeover. Guys, you can move in on it after 9 o'clock at night. So there you go. But it's all brought to you by our friends at Bud Light. So we're looking forward to the broadcasts. We're looking forward to the final couple of huddles. We're going to be out and about over the next couple of weeks, 4 different places, 4 different events. And then we head to Phoenix, Arizona. We're going to be live from Radio Row. And that is going to be a blast, as always. Myself, Mike Clemens, Erica, Kristen's going with us. Starting on Monday, February 6th, we'll be live in Arizona the entire week. Really looking forward to it, and giving you the lead up to a Super Bowl. We're going to get there on the 3rd, the night of the 3rd, and then starting, just follow us on social media on the 4th and 5th and all the way through the week. We'll be doing Super Bowl coverage. So really, really looking forward to it. Looking forward to it big time. Ben, I know you're got to coordinate this thing so you are on site and hanging with us out at Super Bowl. We've already got people lined up for guests too, by the way. Did you know that?
I figured. I don't
Yeah.
think I knew for sure. There's a lot going on around here, so
is there?
It's in my mind, but it's not all out.
What else happening there? What do we need to know?
I mean, there's a lot of moving parts.
Okay.
We have our show Tuesday and Thursday night.
Okay.
There's some morning show.
How'd last night go, by the way, out at Monk's?
It was good. We were going to be joined by Daryl Peterson, outside linebacker on the Badgers. Some complications there, so I think he'll join us next week out there. But it was good. The cycle never stops around the program right now. It's no more a normal January where you just talk about basketball and look forward to the spring.
Right.
There are things happening every day, so it's been good. It's been fun.
Okay. Yeah, this is a busy time of year. Once we hit Super Bowl, then we get home. We got a little time. Brewers going to spring training and such. And then after that, we crank up, and all of a sudden, before you know it, you're into April and May, and boy, off we go again. And it's the golf outings, it's cigar dinners, it's travel, it's affiliates, all that kind of stuff. We've got something coming up. I'm going to try to book something where I think if I'm not mistaken, I think there's an event in March that we're going to end up in Viroqua. And Ernie's called me a couple of times, our buddy Ernie Betts out there, and I think we're going to end up in Viroqua. So we're going to try to do that. But we're just trying to get through our schedule right now. But it's going to happen. It's going to happen. We got a lot of stuff going on. Let's do this. We're going to step away because we went a little bit long with our buddy Mark Schofield, but there was a lot to get to. Step away, come back. I got to get into just a couple of things coming up in about 15 minutes. And that is two different quarterback songs. Well, you can hear them. You can hear them. And I don't know many songs that are written strictly for quarterbacks, but it's got to be organic. So we'll talk about that coming up here in about 15 minutes. Stay tuned. Got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up this portion of the program. Brought to you by our buddy, our friend Joey Albanese. They have a hell of a Italian fish fry going on at Albanese's Roadhouse. Starts today, 4 o'clock. Stop in. And right there next to Menards on Blue Mountain Road in the Waukesha area, Brookfield. But a hell of an Italian fish fry. Oh, so good. Now, you don't need a fish fry this week if you don't want to. You don't have to. But if you want to, there you have it. They got an Italian fish fry going on. Stop in, check it out. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. Good to have you on board. Hey, don't forget about our friends at Great Lakes Dragaway down in Union Grove, Wisconsin. If you're looking for the, or maybe you have the itch for the need for speed. You know, maybe you have the itch for the need for speed, and you've got that kind of in your blood. Whether it's dragsters, your own car, motorcycles, 2023 season passes, dates are booking up. So, and you can rent the track. Did you know that? Want to get you and a bunch of friends together, go down there and see who's got the fastest car? You can do that. Check out our friends at GreatLakesDragaway.com. That's GreatLakesDragaway.com. Again, GreatLakesDragaway.com. Their season's not far away. Not far away. Good stuff. And they're just great people. And we might be doing some more business with them. Hint, hint. Just an FYI. Now I got you wondering, don't I? That's what they call a segue and a drop in the world of radio. Hey, Ben, this is just a bizarre story, for lack of a better term. I don't know how else to put it. Can you explain to me? Now, the fans do a lot of things, right? You see the mustard guy in Buffalo, the guy that before every games get just doused in mustard for whatever reason. I don't know. How'd that start, by the way? Do you know that? By any chance?
No, I don't.
Okay. He gets doused in mustard before every game, and which is just bizarre. But you got the Bills Mafia, and they're jumping off of trucks and vans and stuff and breaking tables. We all know that. A Lambo, brats and beer, tailgating, by far. The fair at Lambeau Field, every time I get somebody that comes in from out of town that says, oh, my God, you ought to see us. Even Cowboys fans, for down there at AT&T Stadium, you got to see the RVs and this and that. Shut up. Wait till you get here. And then they're like, holy crap, you guys should go pro. So there's professionals, right? You got Raider Nation, the Black Hole. They come in all face painted and dragged out and everything. But for a big game, I know for a big game, what's the thing you would do? Like if the Eagles were in, when the Eagles won the Super Bowl some years back, like 5-6 years ago, when the Eagles were going to the Super Bowl, Ben, what did you do prior to the game?
I got hammered.
You were an absolute mess, and you should be standing up about 12 people and standing up and going, hi, my name's Ben, and I'm an alcoholic. That's what you should be doing.
Listen, there was nothing I could do. The nerves.
You didn't get like a jersey. You didn't get hats. You didn't like years ago when I was younger and the Cincinnati was going to the Super Bowl, led by Boomer Esiason, right? On the defense was that heartfelt guy, that grunt was Tim Crumry, Wisconsin product, right? So before the game, we went out, we got, those crazy, the Yipe stripes, Zuba pants and all that kind of stuff. And, I had a big Bengals hoodie on, and my buddy, Big Dewey Ronan, he went and got a Crumry jersey. Because I'll never forget it, because when Crumry's leg snapped and it was just flailing around behind him like, some kind of fishing line looking for bait, Dewey threw himself on the ground and started screaming and crying. I mean, literally just, like bawling and crying, okay? But we went and got, jerseys and pants and hats and, ready to go. Trotta's Pizza, hell yeah. So when you get into your team, you're ready. Everybody goes to bars, restaurants, wherever it is. You gather up, you gather your guys. Have you ever considered dyeing your junk? I will take that as a no. That's what Giants fans are doing.
Allegedly.
So
we don't get sued.
Allegedly. Giants fans for this game against the Eagles are we sure that these are a bunch of dudes living in mom's basement that haven't done anything with a female all their life and they're just blue naturally? But apparently they're allegedly dyeing their junk blue to give the Giants good luck against the Eagles. There goes my phone. No more than say it. My phone starts buzzing like it's probably a buddy of mine up north going, what the hell? Seriously, what the hell? So where did this come from, Ben? Because you brought my attention to this morning.
I don't know the exact source, but a big, like a Fox 29 big news guy in Philly tweeted the video of it. It's a short little 30-second. It looks like an interview done by some Giants, news outlet with a fan asking what they're doing for the game. And it has since circulated on Twitter.
Okay, so let's be honest. Okay, first of all, the guy that is speaking, is there any of this that we can play?
Yeah, all of it.
Okay, well, let's do this. Let's take a listen to this guy that looks like it's a relatively well-maintained mom's basement. And he's an older gentleman. He's in complete New York Giants garb, a jersey, a hat, the whole deal. And let's take a listen to why his junk is blue.
Share this with you just for a chuckle. All the male Giant fans, what we do secretly before we play the Eagles is, that Easter egg dye, all the different color Easter egg dye you dye the Easter eggs with? There's a certain organ that only men have that we dye our organ with the blue Easter egg dye. And then that's like a secret, thing that we have going, and it helps us prevail. The Easter egg dye is going to be out in force secretly, and we're pulling out all the stops.
We're pulling out all the stops. That's not what you're pulling out. somewhere, I'm trying, I every time something like this happens, I try to think logically about it. Somewhere, something happened with one of these, and they did this for whatever reason. And the Giants won that week. And so this guy has brought in some type of big game tradition of saying, gotta, I'm superstitious. I gotta diet blue again. Unless he was dressing as a creeper like Papa Smurf with no pants on for Halloween, and the Giants won back then. Other than that, I can't think of any reason in my lifetime, anywhere down the road, in any circumstance and or situation, that I would ever consider dyeing my junk blue or dyeing my junk at all. Ben, is there any circumstance in which you would go, you know what, this would be appropriate?
Well, I think it's the color that's the issue here. That dark, ugly Giants blue, right? Like if you're talking about colors. I'm not going with like, no, I'm not. I can't ever imagine any circumstance in which I'm going to go, you know what? Today, between you and me, yeah, I'm dyeing my junk green and gold. Yeah. So I'll ask this question.
Yes.
What if you were a Giants fan?
Yes.
And that tradition, we'll say, happened to coincide with Eli Manning in the 2007 Super Bowl run. A run that only could have been driven by something, a higher power, because that was remarkable. And then, frankly, 2011, too.
I couldn't do it. What would prompt me to do that to begin with? That's my point. My point is, as he said, I'm pulling out all the stops, so I might as well drop my pants and dye my junk. There's nothing I could possibly do in my lifetime that would ever make me say that. Nor would I ever then walk around to my friends and go, hey, you got to dye your junk blue. I would probably get ostracized from the group. So, right? My buddy Dwayne says, oh, come on, we could call you the Big Blue Unit. And there you go. No, it ain't happening. Even when the Big Blue Blob was running free at Xavier University, and I love that guy. He was just a big blue. He looked like the Pac-Man blue thing, But no. Even if it was my job. Just thought I'd throw it out there. Is there a circumstance in your life at all that you would say, going to dye my junk today? Can't imagine it.
If Jordan Love goes and wins the Super Bowl.
No way.
Could be talking about something there. Oh, come on. What if he leads next year's Packers team, Jordan Love, that is, to the Super Bowl? Wouldn't cross your mind?
Chris just texted me and says, you're talking about the love. I can't do it. I don't know if I can throw it off the air or not. All right.
Certainly, if you have a huge package.
There you go. Matt LaFleur listening to the program at all times. Head coach of the Green Bay Packers, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned. We got a lot more than Bill Michaels. Not even if the Admirals go to the Calder Cup and dyeing my puck blue. It ain't happening. Milwaukee Admirals. Check out the MilwaukeeAdmirals.com. MilwaukeeAdmirals.com for all the hockey action, promotional stuff, concerts after the game, everything they got going on. That's MilwaukeeAdmirals.com. Oh, puck it.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Even when the weather outside is frightful, your energy bill could be much more delightful. Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offers some of the most energy efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep the cold outside where it belongs. You'll help kick the January blues when you choose to book by the 31st. 31st for 0% interest up to 2029. You heard that right. No interest up to the year 2029 if you book by January 31st. Paula's premium wood windows and patio doors feature distinguished craftsmanship and nearly endless possibilities with maximum design flexibility in dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Hurry. To get the 0% interest up to 2029, you have to book by January 31st. Visit PaulaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers' Aaron Rodgers has talked about his close friendships with teammates like Mason Crosby, David Bakhtiari, and Randall Cobb. The same is true for quarterback Jordan Love, who went to high school with Packers inside linebacker Chris Barnes. I asked Jordan, are they close friends?
Oh, yeah, we're real close. That's my guy. We've been really close since really elementary school, going into middle school.
What's part of the bond?
No, we do a lot. Just hang out. We'll play video games together. We'll go watch movies together. We've been doing the same stuff since high school, more like let's go to movies, do stuff after school, things like that.
Work out?
Yeah, work out, all that stuff. We trained together. We played 7-on-7 in the summers together. We did a lot of stuff together and with a couple of our teammates in high school, but we've had a close bond.
In the playoffs, the 49ers host the Dallas Cowboys Sunday at 5:30. Quarterback Dak Prescott threw for 4 touchdowns and ran in another in their win over the Buccaneers.
As I said, the confidence that I've gotten myself, that I've gained over the years, the confidence I've gotten these receivers and the guys I'm throwing it to, I'm not going to allow that to change the way that I play this game and the way that we stay aggressive on offense.
The Buccaneers fired 8 of their assistant coaches yesterday, including offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich, head coach Todd Bowles.
It all starts in the offseason. We'll try to make the right decisions going forward and thank everybody for their efforts. And, when you come back here, we'll see different culture, different chemistry, and different camaraderie.
That's Buccaneers head coach Todd Bowles. I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
Are there to rock your world. So check out our friends at canejewelry.com. All right. So, Ben, we got 2 songs here. And normally when you have music that is, fans get fired up. That's okay. They get fired up about their guys, about their teams. Normally it's written about the teams. Now, you've got Trevor Lawrence, and they did is it a Waffle House song about him?
Yeah, it's a spin-off of a very famous Applebee's related country song.
Gotcha.
That is catchy, to say the least.
So I got 2 songs here, and I want to give you my bias coming up, but you've got the Trevor Lawrence song. So let's dip in and take a listen to the song written about the quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars, one long-haired boy, Trevor Lawrence.
The field goal is good! Good! The Jaguars have won it! They have come back from 27-0 to win the game!
Our team's amazing. That's why we're singing. Down 27-0, still we're playing. Never say never with Josh and Trevor. Coach Peterson is crafty and he's clever. But after that amazing playoff victory, where does Trevor go after making history? Hey, hey, hey! Yeah, he's fancy like Waffle House on a game night. Eggs and bacon smothered like the Chargers.
I can't do it.
Okay.
I can't do it. I can't do it. It's so bad.
All right, yeah, that's not good, and
that's going to get us taken off the air.
And that is taken from a song, from a country song. Okay, they basically took the music, stripped the words, and then put Trevor Lawrence into this thing. This is different. This was a song that was actually written for one Joe Burrow. I'm biased, and the reason I'm a little biased is because a very good friend of mine, we grew up across the street together. They put this song together. It's kind of becoming an anthem in Cincinnati now. And so play the Jackpot Joey song.
To LSU. Now he's the king of the AFC. Jackpot Joey. He's got rose-colored Cartier, cigar-smoking protege. Got diamonds in his chains, and ice run through his veins. He's king of the AFC. Jackpot Joey.
Okay, there you go. So some songs become, like the Bears Still Suck out of the Happy Schnapps combo that we all play here and we hear it over and over again and such. It becomes kind of organic when they write stuff like that. The original stuff ends up getting more traction because it's something nobody's heard before. The thing about Trevor Lawrence, yeah, I'm agreeing with you. It's almost like nails on a chalkboard. However, funny you mentioned this, and we bring this up today. My buddy Joe, not Joe Burrow, Joe Ventry, is the architect of the Jackpot Joey song, and Joe is actually out listening today, which I find rather interesting. And so he called. Joe, are you there?
I'm here.
Hey, so how has the Jackpot Joey song taken off in Ohio?
Well, I tell you what, we were when we were 2-3 and 4-4, not so much. But the last 9 games, we posted it last week. I threw it out on Reels, and we had 12,000 views just in 6 days. People were making cookies to them and posting them on TikTok. I thank you out because on the show, because I'm not getting any local traction with my local media. But you go to a guy in Wisconsin.
Mo Eggers got it. I sent it to him. He's got it. I know he's got it.
Well, you better tell Mo that Joe ain't happy with him.
Well,
I got to shout out. Sorry, Billy. I got to shout out because Mike Kramer. You remember Mike Kramer?
Yeah.
Grew up about my best buddy since we were 10. He's the guy that it was sort of, I wrote it for different music. Mike did all the music himself. Plays it. He played the bass, the rhythm, the lead, and then that's me singing it. And Mike and I co-wrote it. So we got a mention on Sports Illustrated, SI.com, and the Bill Michaels Show. But still waiting for like Fox 19 or Channel 12.
Wow.
One of those guys.
I'll send it over to Trisha Mackey too at Fox. She follows me on both Facebook and Twitter. Joe, it's great stuff. I'll be playing it around the house this weekend, that's for sure. And I just reposted it on all the media levels, and we'll see if it gets any more traction for you. Appreciate it, pal. See you soon. Okay.
Thanks for having me.
You the man. Talk to you later. 2 hours down, 2 hours yet to go. We'll get back at it. Stay tuned. A whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Wisconsin was slated to take on Northwestern tomorrow in Evanston, but that is not happening. The schools announced yesterday the game wouldn't be played as scheduled due to COVID-19 issues within the Wildcats program. Both schools, along with the Big Ten, are working to find a date that works to play the game, but it won't be this weekend. Instead, Wisconsin won't play again until Wednesday when they take on Maryland. Badgers beat the Terrapins earlier this year in Madison. Steve McCrell had 12 points in that one. It came just before his breakout performances over the last 6 games when he scored at least 20 points in 3 of them. Coach Greg Gard was asked what has led to a more dominant Crowell of late.
Yeah, I mean, he's bigger, stronger. He's more physical in the paint, and he embraces the physical contact. And I think he's getting to a point where he's demanding the ball. We're running a lot of stuff through him there down the stretch, trying to touch him in different situations. Like I said, he's converting at a higher rate, which is good to see.
Again, Wisconsin's going to be at Maryland on Wednesday. Turning to the Bucks, they will make their way to Cleveland later today. It's where they're going to take on the Cavs tomorrow. Milwaukee's won 2 straight, sitting a tie with Philly for the second best record in the East. Cleveland is 5th. Tip tomorrow is at 6:30.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the window to enter the NCAA transfer portal closed on Wednesday. New Badgers coach Luke Fickell took advantage of the window, adding 13 players, including potential starting quarterback Tanner Mordecai. Wisconsin also lost 9 players, most recently wide receiver Dean Ingram. He announced that decision just yesterday. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, Zach Heil, Print.
Welcome back. Good to have you. Bill Michaels Show. Continuing on. Crazy last half hour. We went from quarterback songs to, Giants fans dyeing their junk to quarterback songs. And we put sanity back to the program. Although some news coming out, Ian Rappaport reporting that Rich Bisaccia is interviewing for the head coaching job in Indianapolis. So just when you figure the Packers have straightened out their special team situation, boy. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. Phone line's wide open too, by the way, if you want to give us a buzz. This one's from Anthony, who says, if the Packers should lose Jordan Love, what then? Well, I think there's two things here. First of all, you can either go through the draft, and I don't know. That's just it. I don't know if you would go and spend your first round draft capital for a quarterback. So I don't know if you go in that direction, or you just bring in, if you trade them away, do you get a first or second round pick plus whoever is the backup quarterback for whatever team, or do you bring in somebody else that is possibly sitting out there, which is very possible as well. But yeah, you're right. What do you then do for a backup? Because you've got a guy that's basically been in the system now for 3 years, 4 years, and going on 4, and he's going to be the guy that knows it all, the guy that has been there, done that, the guy that has grown in that system and is comfortable in that system, knows everybody. That's a great question. If by chance you should, lose that. I don't think they do. This is my thought, okay? And I've said this, and I'll stand by this. Rodgers is coming back. They'll pick up the option on Jordan Love. They'll make a decision whether to move him or what have you, or keep him. Rodgers will have some of that decision in his back pocket, and you'll see what happens this year. This year, there is no desperation. The only desperation this year is to get to and win a Super Bowl. That's it. The backup quarterback situation, while it can be, I look at it as you're sitting out at the campfire. It's a beautiful night. Things are starting to come together. You've got a little bit of anxiety about some things you need to take care of, but for the most part, direction you're going in, and there's that gnat that's flying around your face and you keep swatting at them. You just can't get them. It's an annoyance, but it's not something that's wrecking the program. It's not going to wreck your night, is the one gnat. That's it. And I hate to put it that way because Jordan Love's a good dude. He showed us a little bit in that game against Philadelphia, but it's not the most important thing on the docket. And it's not like it's an out of control procedure at this point. All you need to do is make a decision one way or the other. You already know what you have behind closed doors. The only thing, and Brian Gutekunst had a terrific point during the bye week when he spoke, was when the question came up about Jordan Love, he says, we just need to know if he can win. All the other things we've seen. We've seen in practice he can throw the ball. He can, be a good team guy. He can be a locker room guy. He can all the other intangible stuff. We know that. But can he win on the field? We don't know that. You're going to have to make a decision on that. But that's ancillary right now. Right now, it is about sitting down with a quarterback in about a month and saying, are you in? We want you back. Let's go. Let's go. There's none of this. I don't, you do what you want to do between now and camps, but we want you there. We want you in Green Bay. We want you working out with the guys. We want you, even if it's your own personal trainer, we want you busting ass. Get your legs back under you. You looked a little slow this year. You looked a little off this year. Now, that might have been the thumb, might have been the knee, might have been another injury we didn't know about. Okay? But get healthy and get ready to go. Get your legs under you. Let's do this. This is not Cobby's going to coach him up and we'll do this. No. Not for $60 million. No, get your ass. Let's go. I know you're a superstar. I know you've got, the ear of the world every time you go on Pat McAfee and all of that kind of stuff. And you got everybody's, angst and adulation, all of it. But let's go. Let's do this. That's the focus. And then after that, everything else falls into place. That's what I believe. 877-867-1670. Brad listening to us in Marshfield. Brad, welcome to the program, man.
Hey, thank you. Hey, I want to throw a little bit of spice in the fire here. What if you go into the draft and there's a quarterback that falls to you at that at that pick? Do you then what do you do at that time? Do you grab the quarterback and then you have your backup, or and it would allow you to trade Jordan Love or send Rodgers packing? So as Gutekunst, what would your I heard your scenarios earlier today, and I'm like, I'm going to throw another one in. Maybe perhaps the gentleman from Florida. I've been reading a lot about him. He's a developmental project, and they expect him to go in the top. I don't know, 15. Top 15.
Right.
That would be an ideal gentleman because you don't need him. And who knows? Maybe this quarterback then turns out to be better than Jordan Love. Then what do you do?
I appreciate the phone call. If that's a great question, whether or not you take a quarterback in the first round, knowing the needs that you have, it's certainly a different situation. If indeed you get rid of Jordan Love, would you take a quarterback in the first round? If you believe he's better than Jordan Love, yeah, I would. Because you can't, at this point in time, you only got, a couple of years left to Aaron Rodgers? You have to. And Rodgers would have to understand that. But that's only if you trade away Jordan Love, would you consider that? Because, you and I have talked about it 1,000 times. If you know and believe in a quarterback in a quarterback-driven league, you got to go. You got to take it. You got to grab it while you can, right?
The problem is, aside from the top two, it's a terrible quarterback class.
Right. It's not that great.
Future ones look awesome because a lot of fringe guys that could be good stayed in college because they could get NIL money that would rival what they would get in the NFL.
2024,
so it's a very thin class.
Yeah, 2024 is a much better class. 2024 is a much better class that will be coming out. If you believe in a guy, like say, somebody just completely falls. If you believe in a guy, awesome. That's great. But otherwise, I would probably say no. If I've got a guy that I really covet, at this point in time, you're looking for playmakers, man. And the more playmakers you put around a quarterback, whether he's really, really good or mediocre, the more playmakers, specifically defensive playmakers and on the outs playmakers, then you can really put something back together and you can do it relatively quick. So I probably wouldn't, to answer your question. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670.
But
Gary,
doesn't that point to quickly in some way? Doesn't this whole discussion point to kind of needing to know on the field whether Jordan Love can win this season somewhat because of all of the great options you could have in theory next off season?
Yep.
Whereas this being you got to figure it out year.
No, I agree with that. No, I
quarterback
100%,
and head coach
100% would agree with that. I would say that you would assume at some point you'd probably find out if Jordan Love can play. But again, I go back to the fact that other than win, you know what you got. I believe that you know what you got. And we're on the outside, we want to see it. We need to know. Behind closed doors, I'm sure that they have a really good idea of what they've got. You know what I mean? So we as fans keep saying, well, we got to see this, we got to see that. But we're not with this guy every day. They know. I mean, if Mike Clemens and I have had, kind of off mic conversations about Jordan Love, and there's a lot of guys there in the locker room that believe in him. I don't know what he's going to be, if he's going to be great or not, but there's a lot of guys that in that locker room that believe in him when he gets his opportunity. So they know what they have with him behind closed doors. I'm not going to doubt that. By the way, Gary says, well, even Favre didn't show up at the end of his career when he was like Aaron Rodgers. He didn't have to. He didn't have new receivers. First of all, Favre wasn't sure he was even walking away. We were going through the waffle every year. And to be honest with you, you didn't have to in the sense you had a starting quarterback ready to go. So the minute Favre said, I'm not back, it's like, boom, okay. You go from 2005 on, they didn't really draft wide receivers. Terrence Murphy was, I think, a second-round choice, if I'm not mistaken. They did have Greg Jennings. That I do know. That was probably about, I think in 2007, they brought in James Jones. But that was pretty much it, because that was the last year. They already had a good stable of receivers as well. And Jennings came in and developed right away. Javon Walker was on his way out the door, but they had, Favre didn't show up, but it was different. And let's be honest, Gary, you're talking about two drastically different quarterbacks. Drastically different quarterbacks. Rodgers is cerebral. Rodgers wants you to think like him. Favre just threw it. Favre just, if you're supposed to be here, I'm throwing it. And if you're not there, that's on you. Favre didn't care. Look at the amount of interceptions he had. He didn't care. He just threw it. And when he couldn't find somebody open, he'd take off and do all kind of Houdini craziness. Favre didn't talk about, trust and same page and signals and all the other stuff. Favre just, he ran the play. I remember Favre one time saying, I'm just a quarterback. Now, it was a shot at management because of him and Ted weren't getting along. But just, he was like, look, I'm just going, whatever they call, I'm running. There you go. 877-867-1670. I'll go back to the phones before we take a break here. Daniel, listening to us in Toma. Daniel, how you doing, man?
How you doing? I have a question.
Sure.
I'm not saying it's 100%, but he listens to these radios and how fans are, just like Favre, and people say get rid of them. And doesn't that discourage them not to come back? Because fan base is part of it. He wants to hear people, we want you back. And instead of saying, well, if he's willing to split his money up, and then we can get a receiver, there's a good one coming out of California, or get another veteran that's going to do something. I mean, come on, you got to admit, he did not have the personnel to go all the way this year. He needs a couple of key things, tight end and a receiver. I would say we put him somewhere. I would think, this is crazy. I know you're going to say this doesn't happen. A fullback that can be a tight end and a fullback that can catch the ball. We used to have, you know what I'm saying? That would be perfect. That could be, he can go to fullback, or
that's Josiah DeGuara.
Listen.
That's Josiah DeGuara was, appreciate it, Daniel. Josiah DeGuara was the fullback / tight end / wideout that they were going to use, and they don't. He was the gadget guy, and they don't use him. And to be honest with you, don't really use tight end too much. So I don't,
They need a fullback, Bill.
Yeah,
I've been saying it for years.
No. If they were going, no, stop. I'm going to end this conversation right here. Let's do this. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. As a matter of fact, I'm getting up this morning and my phone buzzes, and it's Gina Della from Pella, and she said, "Hey, good morning. Can you start doing the countdown for the live reads? With the Fed continuing to raise the rates, this offer may not return literally for years. 12 more days of zero interest and to make the most of it. There's nobody in the industry that has this offer." She says 12 more days of zero interest for 72 months. That's the text I got. Literally the text I got from Gina this morning. She said, just make sure people know. I said, I will. I'll put it out there. You've got 12 more days of zero interest for 72 months. You got to make the appointment. You got to call. You got to get a hold of them. Schedule the free in-home estimate. Free. They'll come out and do it. If you don't want to do it, no skin off their nose, no skin off yours. But it's free. All you got to do is get a hold of them. Free. 855 PELLA-WI. 855 PELLA. 855 PELLA-WI, or go to PELLAWI.com. That is PELLAWI.com. But only 12 more days left of 0%, 72 months. 0%, 72 months for windows, doors, entryways, interior, exterior, all that kind of good stuff going along with it. And it's economical. It raises the value of your home. It is the most preferred by homeowners. So get a hold of them. 12 more months, 0%, or 12 more days of 0% for 72 months through PELLAWI.com, or call them 855 PELLA-WI.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Glad to have you. The Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. Hey, coming up tonight out at Smoke in the Water, I had told you about a rhythm and blues band that played last week. They were down at Nice Ash, and they were fantastic. And we're probably going to stop down there tomorrow night. But it was called Robert Allen Jr., the Robert Allen Jr. group. And tonight they are playing at Smoke on the Water in Okauchee. If you love barbecue, rhythm and blues, that whole combination, oh my goodness, you got to stop out to a Smoke on the Water tonight. Got to. Robert Allen Jr. is going to be playing tonight. They've got really good outdoor, big, huge smoker, barbecue, brews, everything right there at Smoke on the Water tonight. Joe and Ellen Hennis are great people, but I'm sure downstairs is going to be filled up with just rhythm and blues tonight. Oh, so good. I mean, I like all types of music. Rhythm and blues is just awesome. Just awesome, especially when you get a really good group. So tonight you got Robert Allen Jr. out at Smoke on the Water, and it's going to be a hell of a night tonight. So check that out. Really good stuff. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up, feel free to go ahead and do so. Give us a shout. Coming up in about 45 minutes, by the way. You got Mike Clemens going to be joining us. So Mike will be here. This was from Mark, who said, the fair this weekend is going to be barbecue and might even stop down to Robert's. What you posted the other night looked delicious. What was that? That was the Al Capone sausages. I did it again last night, as a matter of fact. You just put some, marinara of some type on there, whatever your favorite spaghetti type sauce is. Just grill them up. And I was out grilling again last night. Grilling outside. So, yeah, good stuff. Really good stuff. So head down to either Robert's, but if you're going to do some barbecue, they do, don't forget, ribs on a stick as well. So you can get into that. So there you go. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hey, Bill, this is from Thomas. Have you heard the local guitar god, Greg Cook? I have. As a matter of fact, I'm friends with him on Facebook. Fantastic stuff. We try to get out to do some local music when we can. And obviously a lot of we have so many places we try to visit, but there's a lot of really good talent in the area by far. You get out into Madison. I've said one of the best country bands, if you've ever seen, if you like country cover and energy and fun and sound that's not pre-produced or this, other, wall of crap, our friends at Madison County, that is a hell of a Ben. You ever seen Madison County out there?
No.
You got to go. You ever get a chance, man, go see Madison County. They are one hell of a band. They play everything, but one hell of a band. Really, really good. Just throwing it out there. So you put that on your list to do. Put that on your list to do. I'm coming out one day. I'm going to stalk you. Just follow you around, see what you do. I get this feeling like you go with like a, you're out there in your starter jacket, your Eagle starter jacket that you got when you were a kid. You kind of go out.
I do have one.
Yeah, you got the glasses on, and you just kind of look around before you go into these places, make sure nobody's following you. You come out falling down, or people throw you out into the street, and you're like, "What?" That guy, and you go home.
I think it'll be a lot more interesting than you think.
Yeah,
and then also as dull as you can imagine.
Okay,
if that makes sense.
No, I get it.
There's interest in the details.
Yeah. You are an eclectic cat, no doubt. I get it. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Mark says people need to chill. He said, I didn't want to say RELAX because that's been overplayed. But Rodgers is coming back. They're going to add a few more pieces. Things will get better. And this team will be back in the postseason next year. Next time we are talking about the Green Bay Packers in the postseason, it'll be 1 year from now going into the divisional round. Book it. I like your optimism. I do. I don't know how true it's going to be. Okay, maybe this is a really good question, or maybe it's just going to fall like a lead balloon. If everything stays the same, and yet you get back the banged up guys, okay? Stokes comes back. Rashawn Gary comes back. Your offensive line is completely healthy, But if everybody comes back, but yet it's another year with the wideouts. And I'm talking Lazard and Cobb and everybody. Everybody's back, okay? So Watson, Dubs, Lazard, Samari Toure, Randall Cobb, all those guys are back. Everybody's back. Everything's the same. Is this team in the postseason? Rashawn Gary is back. Stokes is back. You got everybody. Rasul Douglas is back. Amos is back. But you got Rudy Ford. You got Ennis Gaines. Shamar Jean Charles is back and healthy. Kayshawn Nixon is back, returning kicks and punts. All of it. Everybody comes back. With year number 2 of Devontae Wyatt, year number 2 of Quay Walker, TJ Slayton, Jerron Reed, Dean Lowry, everybody's back. Is this team in the postseason? Ben, do you think they are?
I think they make it as a Seahawks-like wild card with pretty clear flaws and maybe a couple of the elite.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they win the division. I think the variable is, does Rodgers return to an MVP level, which I kind of doubt happening.
There you go. That's the big, that's the ginormous question mark. If everybody's back, does the quarterback take them to the next level? Right? That's the big question mark. Do you think that the quarterback then elevates them and takes them to the next level? 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Thomas says they could be, but 12 has to play like the 12 of old. Crypt Keeper says, no way. The quarterback is on the decline. We're going to be right back where we are today. Kay says, hell yeah, run it back. Ian says, nope, not a chance. Nick says the quarterback will let us know when he's ready to play, and then and only then will any decisions to be made to run anything back. Yeah, but my point is I'm asking you a hypothetical. If everything comes back and he comes back, will they be in the postseason? Green Team says no, because if everything is exactly the same, Rodgers is not going to be here through the offseason. He'll only come in for training camp and act like everybody's supposed to be bowing to him. Eric says nope. Mark says they'll be in the postseason, but they will not go very far, probably bounced wild card weekend. Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Let's do this. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Got a lot more to get to here at the bottom of the hour. Stay tuned. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends over there at New Mam Medical, treating guys with ED all over the state, well beyond the borders. Well beyond the borders. But one number, if you're listening to us anywhere right now, if you're listening to us in Sarasota, Florida, if you're listening to us in Dallas, Texas, if you're listening to us out in Vegas, 414-455-4451. Maybe you're listening to us in Houstonford. Maybe you're listening to us in Sheboygan. Maybe you're listening to us up in Pembine. Wherever, doesn't matter, 414-455-4451. Again, 414-455-4451. That's the New Mel Medical Center. Whether it's ED, the low T treatments, if you're kind of feeling moody and sluggish and tired and just dragging all the time, they can help you out with that. How about the all-in-one weight loss program? And they have got a new program that's even more successful. You want to jumpstart a brand new you in 2023, get back into T-shirt weather and actually look like you belong in a T-shirt? 414-455-4451. Again, 414-455-4451. That's the New Mel Medical Center.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Even when the weather outside is frightful, your energy bill could be much more delightful. Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offers some of the most energy efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep the cold outside where it belongs. You'll help kick the January blues when you choose to book by the 31st for 0% interest up to 2029. 2029. You heard that right. No interest up to the year 2029 if you book by January 31st. Paula's premium wood windows and patio doors feature distinguished craftsmanship and nearly endless possibilities with maximum design flexibility in dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Hurry. To get the 0% interest up to 2029, you have to book by January 31st. Visit paulawi.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
This January, hit the road. The road to riches at Potawatomi Casino Hotel. Play each day for thousands in free play and entries into the big $200,000 grand finale. The more you play, the closer you get to big money. So, hit the road, Jack, or Jill, or whatever your name might be. The road to riches, only at Potawatomi. For more details, visit paysbig.com/road-to-riches. Must be 21 years old to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Our friends at Boondocks Barbecue Burgers and Brews out in Oconomowoc. Good stuff, man. If you're out there making the rounds, you got a lot of stuff going on the next couple of weekends. Ooh, good stuff. And they have terrific food there. I think they're getting ready for an expansion, but you can go to Boondocks Barbecue and Brew over on Facebook and follow them, or just stop out County Road K, and in Oconomowoc, and say hello to Tom and Stacy, everybody. Good people. But it's a terrific place. And County Road K, Oconomowoc, better known as Stone Bank in the Stone Bank area. And they got fish fry coming up, but they have got the build your own pasta bowl night coming up. And they got the paint and sip night coming up and all kinds of good stuff. Paint sip party coming up. So check out our friends at Boondocks Barbecue and Brew out there in Stone Bank. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. So I'd ask the question, I said, if you think everything came back the same for the Green Bay Packers, I'm talking every player, everybody comes back, just they're healthy. Are we sitting here next year at this time with this team in the postseason? And do they have a legitimate shot with the roster they have at winning a Super Bowl? 877-867-1670. 867-1670. 877-867-1670. Give us a shot. Give us a shot. By the way, it was the top head coaches in win probability added over expected win probability in 2022. Nick Sirianni, one of the best when it talks about halftime timeouts, delay of game penalties, first-time timeouts, two-point conversions, fourth down decisions. He gave his team, by his own decision, a 70.5% win percentage by his own decisions.
I believe it means he added a total
He added that,
70%
yeah.
he added
a
win.
total 70%, yeah. The Bills were number 2. Dan Campbell and the Lions at number 3. The only negative he had was in two-point conversion win percent. He was negative. Chargers number 4. Matt Eberflus, Bears, number 5. John Harbaugh for the Ravens. You look at the Green Bay Packers, Matt LaFleur, number 12. Fourth down percentage is what gets it for him. 64.6% of decision-making when it came to fourth down percentage. In every other category, he was negative. He went from 64.6% down to the overall grade of 13.3%. Because of two-point conversions, they were pretty much unsuccessful. First half timeouts, second half timeouts, and delay of game penalties. Because of the use and or waste of timeouts. Something we've been screaming about forever. But his fourth down go-for-it percentage was 64.6% of win probability.
That's what gives him the 12th overall. The rest of the game management, pretty much garbage. Yes.
Would you agree though that kind of falls on the quarterback?
A lot of those timeouts are taken, and you take the good with the bad, obviously, with the trying to draw people off sides.
Yeah.
But I just remember watching the game so many times, and a timeout would be called. It wouldn't be LaFleur throwing it out there. It'll be Rodgers, or they're too late in the play clock or whatever.
Absolutely. Part of that is because the play takes so long to come in, and Rodgers alluded to that. Thus, we have to simplify things. But the number one overall win probability for a head coach is Nick Sirianni. Matt LaFleur comes in at 12, but it's the 2-point conversion, which is a negative 5.6. Wasted first half timeouts at 18%. Wasted second half timeouts at negative 22.4%. And delay of game penalties at negative 5.3%. He is the only coach. No, Daniels and the Raiders. He's the same. Those two coaches are the only coaches with timeouts and delay of game negatives across the board. But you're right; it goes hand in hand with the quarterback. It is, and that's something that we've been screaming. I don't even know, Ben. I've screamed about it now for years. I don't get it. I don't understand it, especially coming out of a timeout. We've seen this team have to call another timeout or a delay of game or it just, they've had trouble, working the play or getting out of the huddle. I don't know what it is, but it has been pretty consistent.
It's also kind of NFL wide. If you have a 4th and 4 from like your own 30 and you try to draw them off sides, which we see a lot of teams do, and that's fine. But then to take a timeout to avoid a delay of game penalty before you punt, it's like that 5 yards of a penalty is worth far less than what that timeout will be worth later.
Correct.
It's 100%. Moments like that I don't understand.
So there you go. Anyway, I wanted to kind of, bring that up, but it's interesting. It's interesting in the fact that there's only 2 coaches in the top 15 that, other than the 4th down conversion percentage across the board, with 2-point conversion, timeouts in the first half, timeouts in the second half, and delay of game penalties, are all negatives. That's Josh McDaniels and Matt LaFleur. They're still in the top 15 of coaches overall as far as decision making goes, but in those 4 categories that we scream and yell about so often, they're both the only 2 that are completely negatives across the board. Not even close. 877-867-1670. Stick around. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Oh, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers' Aaron Rodgers made it known this week he expects to see 5 or 6 of his teammates and closest friends still on the roster if he decides to return to Green Bay. One of Jordan Love's closest friends is Packers linebacker Chris Barnes. Both were teammates at Liberty High School in Bakersfield, California.
Chris had all the offers, things like that in high school. And then, went to Utah State, and I was doing my thing and started getting the looks. But, he had his looks as well. And then, draft night, he was at my house for the draft and doing his thing and trying to figure out what was going to be his situation. And, he got the call that, the Packers wanted him to, come out of camp and things like that, sign as a free agent. And I was like, man, that's crazy. We both go to the Packers. So, it just worked out.
In NFL news, the Vikings fired defensive coordinator Ed Donatel. The Dolphins parted ways with their defensive coordinator, Josh Boyer. In Dallas, Mike McCarthy was asked what it was like to be back in the playoffs and facing the 49ers on Sunday.
Players always talk about the juiced up at this time of year. Is your staff also kind of like that now?
Well, my dad's here again, asking questions already knows the answer to. I mean, yeah, of course we are. I mean, okay, I didn't shave today, I didn't sleep much, but yeah, we're excited. It's tremendous. Yeah, I mean, it's Thursday. Yeah, no, we're definitely jacked up.
That's Mike McCarthy. I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
His staff, they got great deals on cruises during the wave season. They go back to the old Black Friday specials. You can give them a call. You can plan your trip now for a later date. You can put just down a really small deposit. You can even finance your vacation, whether it's on cruises or on land. They do all inclusive. They do international, whatever it is you're looking at. Kirk and the staff over at Cruise Planners, they get it done for you. And they're good people.
And we're even thinking about putting together a bit of a package for a bunch of friends through these guys eventually. Chris is not much of a cruiser. I love cruises. You get 4 cities in 7 days, and it's fantastic. But she's the all-inclusive. Let's go get sand in areas we shouldn't have sand and hang out and have some margaritas and hang out for that. So I'm all for that too. But get a hold of our friends at Sand and Sea Travel or at Cruise Planners, 262 anywhere in the country. 262-344-0697. 262-344-0697. 262-344-0697. And even if you just got some questions, they're happy to answer your questions, and they can start putting you in the right, because there's times now where you're not quite sure where to go. Some areas are good, some areas aren't. You got to go with people who know what the hell's going on. So get a hold of our friends over there at Cruise Planners and 262-344-0697 and ask for Kirk, and they're more than happy to help you out. Let's get back at it. And we got phone calls to get to. Ed's listening to us in Madison. Ed, how you doing today, pal? What's going on?
Happy Friday. I got something crawling up my behind that really just irks me to no end.
Okay.
And I bet you probably heard it and felt the same way, maybe. Aaron, when he was on the McAfee show the other day, he said something, and I didn't really pick up on it right away, but Keyshawn Johnson did. And he goes, I'm willing to – I'm going to paraphrase, of course. I'm coming back. I come back to Green Bay or some other team and win an MVP. I didn't think about it at the time because, but what about winning a Super Bowl? Every player that plays in the NFL, that's their number one goal, to go to the big dance, to win it all. And I know Aaron's only been there once. He's putting MVPs ahead of Super Bowls. If I was in that locker room as a player, I'd be a little miffed with him and saying, you're not putting the team first, because you win a Super Bowl as a team, not as an individual, of course. It's a team effort. So did you pick up on that? I'm sure you
Well, a lot of people did, as a matter of fact. I appreciate the phone call, kind of expound upon it. First of all, he did talk about he didn't want to come back unless he had a legitimate shot at winning a championship. He didn't want to be a part of a rebuild or anything like that. He said reloads are fun. When you start putting new pieces in and trying to make it all fit and all that kind of stuff, reloads are fun. He did talk about winning a championship. It wasn't like he just completely ignored it and it was all about me, me, me. But he was asked a specific question about, can you still play at a high level? And he said, yeah, I believe I can. I could still win an MVP. So that's kind of that's why he answered it in that way. I'll defend Aaron Rodgers in that sense. I agree with you in the sense of we don't care about MVPs. He can talk about it and about his level of play of what he can do. Right. But you're right in the sense in the way a lot of people feel of, look, that's great. If you can put it this way, if he's playing at an MVP level, chances are you're probably heading deep into the postseason anyway, right? Barring mass injury on the defense or something. But he still wants to win. He still wants to win a Super Bowl. And I think the fire in him to do one of two things. Well, both things, actually. I think, one, he wants to come back and prove this year was just an apparition. I think he's going to come out balls to the wall next year. I mean, just out to prove everybody and every doubter, like he has his entire career, wrong. So I think that's first and foremost. Secondly, I think there is a deep desire in him to walk off of whatever field, holding the Lombardi Trophy high, to make it that one last run, to put him in that upper echelon of quarterbacks and to make him the best quarterback in modern era history with the Green Bay Packers. I really believe that. As a matter of fact, I know that. So those two things, those fires burn within. But if he's having an MVP season, chances are it goes hand in hand with the fact that the Packers are going deep into the postseason. What I want him to do is have an MVP season and then cap it off with a Super Bowl run. Because we've all seen the MVP season that has then fallen short. But I agree with you. It does sound as self-serving, but it's in the context of the question that he's answering a legitimate question. So, but I said the same thing. I'm like, look, I don't care about the regular season. What I want to see is this team start out however they start out and then continue to get better and better and better and hone their skills, and he starts to connect, and the wide receivers are all on the same page. The offensive line is blocking. Rodgers is playing at that level. The defense is starting to come together, and all of it puts them deep into the postseason. They're peaking at the right time. They're good, they're lucky, they're hot, and they're healthy. And those four things are trucking right down the highway, and they're heading towards a championship. That's what I want. That's what I want. 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free to go ahead and do so. Let's go back to the phones. Talk to our buddy Mike. Mike, how you doing today?
Hey, Billy. Good morning, afternoon. How are you?
Good. What's up?
I think two things got to happen. Rodgers got to come back. If he wants these guys back with the same team, he's got to play at least 3/4 of his MVP years. LaFleur's got to, check back to the game against Dallas where everything seemed to be clicking.
Mm-hmm.
And he was calling plays. He wasn't stale. What they go first to last in touchdowns in the red zone or inside the 10?
I don't remember, but I know that they were very, very efficient there. Hell yeah.
He's got to go back and look on his play calling because, as you stated numerous times, the play calling sucked this year. I don't know. You don't use your best player, Jones, like we talked about. And Rodgers looked disgusted with him just like he did with Mike McCarthy at the end.
Mm-hmm.
They're at each other with the play calling and stuff.
Right.
But the biggest thing is, like you said, he's got to come back and and want to play and want to win that championship, and he's got to be all in.
I 100% agree. He's got a Matt LaFleur or whomever. Appreciate the phone call, Mike. We're at the top of the hour. Matt LaFleur or Gutekunst, whomever. You go down, you say, how you doing? Let's grab a burger. Let's do whatever you want to do. Hell, I'll do ayahuasca with you. We'll all go poop on a beach. Whatever it happens to be. Let's go do it. But when you're ready, we need all in. We need all in. Got to have all in. And then go for it. Lock arms and go for it, man. Put everybody in lockstep. Yeah, 100% agree. This one is from Art. Art says, do you really want Aaron Rodgers back, or do you want to go ahead and start the clock on the era and let's have pretty much past Aaron Rodgers? We only know here maybe two at best. No, I've never ever been one to kick a Hall of Fame style quarterback out the door. I wouldn't do it. Now, if it's completely hindering your team, yeah, then maybe it's time. But I don't think unless you got another one, unless you're the Packers knowing you have Rodgers, or you're Art Seifert knowing Joe Montana's pretty much done, the back issues are problematic, and here comes Steve Young. No, I'm not booting anybody out the door. You got one more shot, two more shots at best. I'm doing everything I can to go for it. Everything I can to go for it. Hey, our friends at the Social House reminding you, swing on by. Fish fry tonight. They have new menu items as well. Really good menu items. Social House, Lisbon Road, Menominee Falls. Dan Dellin has his staff. Great people. Stop in, say, feed me, jump in my belly. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Wisconsin was slated to take on Northwestern tomorrow in Evanston, but that is not happening. The schools announced yesterday the game wouldn't be played as scheduled due to COVID-19 issues within the Wildcats program. Both schools, along with the Big Ten, are working to find a date that works to play the game, but it won't be this weekend. Instead, Wisconsin won't play again until Wednesday when they take on Maryland. Badgers beat the Terrapins earlier this year in Madison. Steve McCrell had 12 points in that one. It came just before his breakout performances over the last 6 games when he scored at least 20 points in 3 of them. Coach Greg Gard was asked what has led to a more dominant Crowell of late.
Yeah, I mean, he's bigger, stronger. He's more physical in the paint, and he embraces the physical contact. And I think he's getting to a point where he's demanding the ball. We're running a lot of stuff through him there down the stretch, trying to touch him in different situations. Like I said, he's converting at a higher rate, which is good to see.
Again, Wisconsin's going to be at Maryland on Wednesday. Turning to the Bucks, they will make their way to Cleveland later today. It's where they're going to take on the Cavs tomorrow. Milwaukee's won 2 straight, sitting a tie with Philly for the second best record in the East. Cleveland is 5th. Tip tomorrow is at 6:30.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the window to enter the NCAA transfer portal closed on Wednesday. New Badgers coach Luke Fickell took advantage of the window, adding 13 players, including potential starting quarterback Tanner Mordecai. Wisconsin also lost 9 players, most recently wide receiver Dean Ingram. He announced that decision just yesterday. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Continuing on, coming up in about 15 minutes, going to bring in Mike Clemens. He's going to be joining us today. Good stuff with Mike. You know what? So many people have made me aware of it. I posted it on the Facebook fan page. Yes. Last night on Wisconsin's PBS, there's a Wisconsin foodie show. And I had, when it started to air, I can't tell you how many people started to text me. Just friends from all over. First of all, I didn't know that many people watch PBS. But last night on the Wisconsin Foodie, it was all featuring San Giorgio Pizzeria in Napolitana. Now, Gino Fazzari, he owns both Calderon Club and San Giorgio. I talk about it all the time, and it's one of my favorite places in the world. So it's a happy place for me. So if you saw it last night, thanks to everybody. I mean, I was getting people in La Crosse, people in Eau Claire. I had a buddy of mine up in Shawano. I had a friend of mine, Barb, up at the Four Seasons Island Resort. She was watching it way up in the UP. So it was everywhere last night. So to everybody that saw it and sent it to me to say, hey, you're watching it? I did. We sat down and watched it last night. It's a tremendous piece. And it's more so not for my recognition, but for their recognition. They are such good people. And that's what sets them apart. So I posted it on the Facebook fan page. And if you want to go there and see what sets them apart from just stone-fired pizzerias or wood-fired pizzerias, you'll see it. I try to explain it. Maybe I don't do a great job at it. But when you come into Milwaukee and you're looking for a great place for Italian food, authentic, true Italian food, you either go over to Calderon Club, or if you want the pizzas, the authentic Napolitana pizzerias, which are certified out of Napoli, Italy, you go over to San Giorgio. It is so good. So check both of it out. It is it's right there via YouTube. Milwaukee First Pizza, Calderon Club, San Giorgio Pizzeria on the Wisconsin Foodie Show. So check that out. 877-867-1670. You want to find us, please feel free. Feel welcome. Welcome into the program because we'd love to have you. Let's go back to the phone calls. Pat is joining us on the line. Pat, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome. What's up?
I'm doing pretty good too. Second time caller. Have you ever heard that?
No, as a matter of fact. So you're the first caller to ever be a second time caller like that. There you go.
All right, I'm going to comment on the. You say, well, if all things the same and the Packers will it be better next year? And I think they will be. And one thing that you mentioned, Rodgers loves reloads, and I think this year was kind of a reloading year because look how long it took for him to get used to Watson and Dobbs, and he didn't have the time in off season working with them. So I think they have to be better. And we got Zach Tom rolling in there at tackle. So if we have guys that got experience in the old line there, I think it'll be better. Moving forward, too, I think we'd be better, hopefully. Somewhere along the line, we get some more offensive weapons, whether it's through the draft or a good free agent, in the right price range to be better.
I would love to see them get a veteran wide receiver. And Pat, thanks for being a two-time caller. Not first time, two-time, second time. If I had a wish list, and I want to put how I want to go about doing this, I would add a veteran wide receiver, somebody that's not of, hey, we're hoping to God this guy stays healthy. Hey, we're hoping to God he's got one more year in him. I don't want an old dude. I want to see if I can get myself a good mid-level to upper mid-level wide receiver. One guy to spend the money on, okay? I would try to retain Adrian Amos in some way, shape, or form. And I would draft an additional safety, somebody to learn. I would draft a wideout. I would draft a tight end. And then after that, it'd be all trenches all the time. Best available lineman, best available defensive lineman. I want trenches. I want guys that want to run through your family. The rolling ball of knives, the bite off your kneecaps mentality that Dan Campbell has over in Detroit. I want all of that. That's what I want. So I want a wideout. I want a veteran wideout. I want to draft. I want to keep Amos. Everybody else, I'm presuming I'm keeping it pretty much the same. You get Rashawn Gary back. You have Engabari. You have a little depth there. Maybe you bring another guy in, but I'm talking depth on the front. I want beasts. I want 4 front sets. I want 3 front sets. I want pass rush from everywhere. All of that. That's it. That's it. That's all I'm doing. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. That's what I'm looking for. What else do we have here for you? This is who's this from? This is from Michael. Michael says, are all the comments regarding Aaron Rodgers over exaggerated? He tends to be the lightning rod for a lot of misinterpretation. I think some of it is, yeah. Yeah, I'm good with that. It's probably a pretty good comment. I mean, look, some of it though, this whole thing about, well, the media brings it on. It's not the media. I mean, he has the ability to say things in a particular way that, get it done in certain cases to where people go nuts. When you could just say things very vaguely, very frankly, or not vaguely, but very frankly, and just put everything to bed, and he chooses not to. Let's see. You know what? I got so much. Our buddy Steve says, hey, it's going to be a great weekend for football. It has already started with the firing of Vikings defensive coordinator Ed Donatel. Only a year after, as I had mentioned before, when the NFC North rivals learned that picking players and coaches from the Packers scrap pile normally does not work. Here are my bold predictions for the weekend. Kansas City 31-23 over Jacksonville. Philadelphia 26-24 over the New York Giants. Cincinnati 33-27 over Buffalo. San Francisco 24-23 over Dallas. He says the magic of Brock Purdy is going to come through with a late touchdown to George Kittle. He's got a couple other tidbits there. Tidbit for Ben. John Rahm wins the second tournament of the year this week at La Quinta. There you go. He's even got a golf mention in there for you, Ben. How about that?
That's a good thought.
There you go.
Hot start for Rahm yesterday.
There you go.
Shot 8 under.
Okay. This one is from Richard, who says, on your Thursday show, you said the Packers can't really trade Rodgers before June 1st because of the cost. I agree with you, but it made me think, couldn't the Packers trade David Bakhtiari to a team for a 2023 first or second round pick, way too high of a price, of course, and then trade Rodgers to the same team in June for a 2024 first and second round pick? By doing this, they could then get picks in the draft, save money on both Rodgers and Bakhtiari contracts, and still get max value for the Hall of Fame quarterback. Yeah, they could do that. That is going deep into the mindset, but yeah, they could do that. He says, just to be clear, I'm not an advocate of trading Rodgers. He's a pain in the ass with drama, but he's still a great quarterback. So no, I understand that altogether. This one's from our buddy John and Howard says, running it back with Barry. Barry is set in his ways, and he is what he is, a mediocre defensive coordinator, as shown in his previous stints with Washington and Detroit. Running it back with Barry. He's got that title. He also, Rob says, Rodgers, not a team player, hasn't been for some time. I've been saying it for a number of years. Now it's becoming more and more evident. Aaron Rodgers, not a team player. It hasn't been for some time, as he continues to be more about himself, his thoughts, his own words, more and more self-centered, in my opinion. He is the reason the team has underachieved in big games over the last number of years. He's a gifted thrower, one of the best and most accurate passers in NFL history. He can make throws that not many others can. Does he have an incredible football IQ and knowledge and experience? Hell yes. All of these things and more contribute to the fact that he gives his team a chance to go all the way on the field every year. Does he overanalyze and overcomplicate things? Oh, by the way, yes. Have you listened to the guy spout about the web of conflictions the last number of years? Jeez, are you kidding me? Does he think that the smartest guy in the room and has the question to undermine any other authority? Yes. Does he expect everybody else on his team to play his game his way and the way he envisions it rather than play just with the teammates and the team? Yes, you bet. He is the reason they're winning, and he is the reason they are losing. That's from Rob. Rob, appreciate it. Aaron says, I was listening to your show from yesterday, and I heard quite a few Aaron Rodgers apologists contacting you and blaming the media for all the drama. It is not the media at all. They're doing their job by asking specific questions. Rodgers then drums up all the drama himself. Guys like Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger and others, they get questions about retirement, but they don't answer questions like Rodgers does. The retirement question is a fair question to anyone in the NFL who is beginning to age, Rodgers included. The media can do their job and say, hey, Aaron, are you feeling how are you feeling about retiring, or do you think you're coming back? Rodgers could simply say, there are 2 years left of my contract. That's where we stand at the moment. Next question. Instead, he goes into a 5-minute monologue about maybe retiring, maybe coming back, maybe playing for a different team. Maybe the Packers don't want him back. Maybe I won't like the locker room, and so on and so on. Maybe they could bring back other guys that I like. Not that you could get the message through to anybody who worshipped Rodgers on every move, but it's all true. It's not the media's fault. It's 100% on Rodgers. Favre answered the exact same question the exact same way. It was 100% on him as well. Great work as always. That's from Aaron. Aaron, appreciate the email. Thank you very much. Boy, getting a little love there. I'm liking it. Liking it. Let's do this. We're going to step out. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. Our buddy Mike Clemens is going to be joining us. We're going to talk with Mike about all of his thoughts and his worldly beings and such. And as well, maybe. I don't know what Friday holds for Mike, but maybe we get Mike live and in person with us out at the distillery in Grafton. And by the way, we have booked a very special guest to make an appearance with us at the distillery. That's all I'm going to tell you for right now. But going to join us from noon to 12:30 lunch hour out at the distillery in Grafton next Friday. We're going to be there live and in person. So looking forward to it. Stay tuned. Got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Even when the weather outside is frightful, your energy bill could be much more delightful. Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offers some of the most energy efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep the cold outside where it belongs. You'll help kick the January blues when you choose to book by the 31st for 0% interest up to 2029. You heard that right. No interest up to the year 2029 if you book by January 31st. Pella's premium wood windows and patio doors feature distinguished craftsmanship and nearly endless possibilities, with maximum design flexibility in dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Hurry! To get the 0% interest up to 2029, you have to book by January 31st. Visit PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Hey, it's 2023. Make a break from the usual. If you haven't tried Scholze Family Beef yet, make it your New Year's resolution. Go to ScholzeFamilyBeef.com.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
I feel like a little bit better, but there's a lot of factors that go into it. I just got to be sharp on my decision making, but one of these days it'll all come together.
Oh, my God. We're delving back into the archives, bringing in the Who. Hell yes. Welcome back. Mike Clemens. I feel like Mike's like hitting the post with it, like, here we go. And here's the Who. You bet. Yeah. And then giving away, like a peanut butter parfait at Dairy Queen later on today. Welcome back to the program. I'm Bill Michaels. Joining us now, our good buddy Mike Clemens, speaking thereof. Michael, how you doing?
I'm still adjusting that we're not covering a game this weekend, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm. I get it. 100%. It's kind of weird.
Even though we want to, last week, okay, bye. But, the body clock all week is like, am I late for a press conference? Shouldn't I be at practice or something like that? So it's been kind of strange. So I've come up with a little segment today saying, did they really say that? And it's these things, these quotes that happen in hours of talking to players and coaches in Green Bay, conference calls with opposing teams, listening in on other press conferences, and just hearing what the players and coaches are saying. What do you see? You watch some game tape and that kind of thing. And you got Aaron Rodgers there saying, in the middle of that winning streak that almost got them to the playoffs, saying, I still got to make some better decisions. And so I brought that up to Adam Stenavich. But this morning, I started going back over my files of press conferences and quotes and things that these are on the record. And this takes you back to September, Bill, when, you lost to the Vikings and then you had a couple more games and, you're up and running, but it's like, God, Rodgers is getting knocked around a lot. So I asked Adam Stenavich back then, about these motion plays that you work in a game to do that Shanahan offense. What does that take? Because they're trying to get these younger players to have the timing right. Rodgers lifts his leg, and that gets the guy going in the jet motion. And he said, Adam Stenavich, the offensive coordinator, says, yeah, you know what? It takes a lot of time to draw up those motion plays to get the linebackers to watch the sidelines instead of right up over the middle when you hand off to Aaron Jones.
There's a lot of game planning that goes into that, just as far as what we call creating consternation for the defense. You kind of want to keep the second level players on their toes, make them look sideline to sideline instead of focusing on what the downhill stuff and their keys. And always, anytime you're changing strength or flying, they have checks and communication things that they have to do. So they're focused on that and then not focused on other stuff like run fits or their drops and all that stuff. So that's a big part of our game plan. It has been for a while. Yeah, if you game plan it right, you can really use it to your advantage.
Mike, it was with the quarterback, and we talked so much about Rodgers in many different facets. The one thing that he did this year that until that line really started to get a little bit better, more cohesive mid-portion of the season before Bakhtiari went down with the appendectomy, he was taking hits, and maybe he was hanging on to the ball a little bit too long, what have you, but he took some hits this year.
And they came out of camp thinking Royce Newman in his second year would be better as a starter, and they started him at offensive right tackle. That wasn't working. Bakhtiari was in and out. Elton Jenkins, it took him a while to get in there and to find his confidence coming off a torn ACL. Perfectly understandable. Wasn't even a full year yet. Josh Myers is only in his second year as a center. He didn't play that many games last year. So we thought a lot about the offensive line might have been the problem. So this is when it's week 3, and Rodgers says back then in September, after the loss to the Vikings, and then they got the win under Bears, that, man, he was taking a lot of shots. And this is even before they get to London and play the Giants, and toward the end of the game, he's hanging on the ball too long, and what happens? Guy wraps up from behind him and crushes him into the ground, and he fractures his thumb. And so we were asking the offensive coordinator then, you're heading into Tampa Bay. They've got this big, bad defensive line, and Rodgers is even talking about maybe he's holding on to the ball too long.
Yeah, I mean, it starts up front with the offensive line and the backs and the tight ends and protection. It always does. And then, just like Aaron said, a lot of times he's been known for holding on to the ball and creating those extra plays downfield. So there's a fine line that you kind of walk when you do that. But I'm sure as the season goes on and he gets more comfortable with the wideouts and everything like that, hopefully we see less of those where he's, running around and taking big hits. So, we just got to clean that up.
Mike, it was the comments during the season, simplified things, better decisions, and all that kind of stuff that we kind of went through, and we didn't understand what all they meant outwardly. It just never seemed like the offense gained an identity, might be the best way to put it.
Right, and then until Christian Watson finally comes on the scene and, gets those touchdowns against the Cowboys, and he gets rolling, starts setting records. It looked like, he stretched the field now. He gets that ball in his hands, and all of a sudden you start to see these secondaries back up. That's one of the things that Rodgers and the receivers corps probably could have used all season. I wonder if there's some other ways that should have been created, but this is a first-year offensive coordinator. It doesn't appear that Matt LaFleur is shopping, going to make a change at that position, one and done for Stenovich, or put him off to the side or bring in a consultant or, anything of that nature. So now you get to December and, you're back to this lull where you see these, and, you had Christian Watson miss a week of practice because they thought he had a concussion. And, even the fans are yelling at you and saying, why is he going to this guy in the sideline when he's got an open tight end wide open over the middle? Those kinds of decisions. And so I asked Stenovich in December, what does Aaron Rodgers mean again by making better decisions in games?
Yeah, he is an extremely competitive guy. And the hard thing for you as a coach is because you've seen him make so many incredible plays and you've seen him do some incredible things, but then you've also seen him, take some pretty bad shots where you're like, hey man, let's not do that. Just ditch the ball away. Let's play the next play. But then you may not be getting the magical moment that you could have if you don't do that. So that's a fine line. You got to talk with him, and he's got to realize just with decision-making, being smart, and not, putting himself in those positions to take those big hits.
The bad decisions, Mike, it seemed like at times, there were times that the offense was really functional and it looked really good. Going back to like the Cowboys game, the Vikings game and such, even in the fourth quarter of the Bears game. And then there were times where it just was, you got to win. But boy, Rodgers, take that Dolphins game. After that game, he wasn't happy at all.
No, and then, toward the end of the Eagles game, and you decide, what the heck, let's get Jordan Love in there. We need another look out there. Let's give him a shot. And it looked different. It was only 10 plays, but I got to look different. And it's just like, you know what? I'm shooting to the primary target the way it's drawn up in the play. I'm not making all these changes at the line. Everybody that's, in the huddle knows what they're going to do. I'm not going to make 3 changes at the line. If I do, they're ones that they'll understand. And, when you ask LaFleur these questions, he's not going to give up Aaron Rodgers. What is he going to do? I got to coach better. Like, we got to coach better. We got to work up plays better. We got to come up with better plays in the red zone.
Right.
He'll never, ever talk about Aaron missed a guy that was wide open. I don't know why. So you're wondering how much are these guys covering for him. Now, actually, his best buddy, one of his buddies, 70-year-old Tom Clemens, when I asked him the same question after the win over the Dolphins, but again, there were some missed opportunities and, looked like the easy throw or the check down was there. I thought Clemens' answer was pretty straightforward.
Well, he's generally a good decision maker. He's probably referring, at least in this last game, early on, he missed a potential to throw to Lazard on the right, just running a slant. He threw a bubble out to the left, and Allen ended up running a very good route and potentially could have scored. Anytime you pass up something like that, you kind of kick yourself. So I think that's probably what he's referring to. And then down in the red zone later in the game, 3rd and long, we had a chance to hit a shallow cross. And might have, things like that. He always says a handful of plays after the game where, you say, I wish I'd have done this or I wish I'd have done that. So I think that's natural.
In the wish I would have done this category, Amari Rodgers, if you want to go to special teams, I wish they would have made the switch to Keyshawn Nixon a lot earlier. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, they didn't. They covered. I was kind of going back over some of those quotes today, too, and even what Bisaccia said. And it was kind of like, the kid's trying his best. I'm under orders that, this is what we're going to keep with the 3rd rounder, give him another shot. Now he's up to 3 muffs, 4 muffs, 5 muffs. Before then, they get the order like, okay, we've seen what Keyshawn Nixon does in practice. Let's give him a shot. And then, of course, he literally stole the job, and within a week or so, they released Amari Rodgers, and he got picked up the next day on waivers from the Houston Texans. But today, that special teams report is out in the Dallas Morning News, and the Green Bay Packers went from 32nd in the league to, I think, 22nd, did I see? I'm going to go through that report more, but hey, that's improvement.
Yeah.
After Rich Bisaccia was here, after some of the players that they drafted, after some of the guys that they brought in off the street, like a Nixon, like a Rudy Ford and all that. And so, this is the kinds of stuff that Bisaccia was talking about in terms of improving that unit.
We have some parameters going into the game. Now, we got into that game and, we just felt like we were blocking them pretty good and thought we could help set our offense in that situation, in that game. And so we moved the parameters back a little bit, if you will. But it's a learning curve for him as well. I think we lined up way over to the one side on one, and they dropped it in there over on the right, so he's got to understand where to line up on some of the different calls. But there are parameters going into the game. They can change as the game goes on.
We had a lot of confidence going into it. I think Rich told me we were going to be aggressive, and we were like, go for it. So, yeah, no, our whole return unit did a great job of making their blocks and creating space, and then Keyshawn was hitting the right holes. And so hopefully we'll continue to get not too many more opportunities, but, one a game would be great.
Let's do this. We'll step out. We'll take a quick break talking with Mike Clemens and breaking down, portions of the season of things that went right, things that went wrong. We'll get back to him. Looking to purchase a new home, maybe get fast pre-approval, maybe to get some of the excess equity out of your home, whatever it happens to be. My guy, Scott Ellis, fantastic guy with Homeside Financial, but he's here in Wisconsin, 414-791-7771, 414-791-7771. The best part about when I was going through my process regarding financing and refi, for that matter, was he was always available, always answered my questions, pretty much remote for the best part. Everything came right to my computer, right to my phone, DocuSign, got everything done, went through all the options with me. And right now, with some of the interest rates falling a little bit in the home mortgage sense, he's got a 2-1 buy down, 2-to-1 buy down. You could actually start out at 4.5%. Let that sink in. 4.5%. They've got a plan. You got to call them. So if you're looking for a new home and you really don't want to go 6.5, don't want to go 7, don't want to be in that area, try 4.5 to start out. And you can always refi down the road. Think about this. Not a bad way to go. Get a hold of my buddy Scott Ellis, 414-791-7771. I don't have all the answers. I don't know all the details, but it sounds like a fantastic plan. 414-791-7771. 414-791-7771. That's my buddy Scott Ellis, or just look up Scott Ellis Team. You can do it that way, but he does a lot of work right here in Wisconsin. 414-791-7771. Back with more of Mike Clemens coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Prescott over the middle, and it's intercepted again. It's Ford again. Near side has a block. Rudy Ford inside the 30.
You need these tight games to get to where you want to go. So, and I thought we were in total control that in overtime, obviously the penalties and the things, very, very, very frustrating.
Welcome back. Good to have you. Good to have you. Mike Clemens, brought to you by the Bay Motel in Green Bay. Quiet, cozy, comfortable, and just a mile from Lambeau Field. Perfect for a family stay if you're going up there to check out the Hall of Fame, an event of any kind. Maybe you're just going to Green Bay for whatever reason, and you want to go old style. The Bay Family Restaurant serving up home style cooking 7 days a week, and the Bay Motel right there attached to it, South Military Avenue in Green Bay. Call them. Reservations 920-494-3441. 920-494-3441, or check them out online at baymotelgreenbay.com. That is baymotelgreenbay.com. Mike Clemens joining us. That was a big day, Mike, in which the Packers knock off the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys now, second round, divisional round of the playoffs, heading out to San Francisco. You'd certainly like to say the Packers were doing it, but Mike McCarthy and his guys are doing it instead.
Yeah, watching some of the injuries for the Dallas Cowboys. Jason Peters left with a hip injury in the third quarter against Tampa Bay, and then Jaron Kearse, their safety, not long after he had a left knee. But he told the reporters in the locker room post game he thought he'd be okay. He's been, I think he missed yesterday's practice. I'm trying to see what's going to happen in today's practice. But yeah, the Cowboys are going out to play the 49ers. Brock Purdy. Can he make it 7-0 against a very good defensive effort by the Cowboys against Tom Brady and that crew? I thought overall the Buccaneers looked, really old in that game. But yesterday, Mike McCarthy said, they were talking about the juice now. I mean, you're getting into the playoffs and the stakes are getting higher, and you can just see you're a couple of games away from possibly getting to Phoenix and a Super Bowl. And so McCarthy talked about he's not concerned that they've got a short week. They've got one less day to rest to get ready for Sunday's game.
These postseason games are different. I mean, it's you're guaranteed 4 quarters, and that's the mindset that that we have and how we're going to approach this one.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. Players always talk about their juice stuff at this time of year. Is your staff also kind of like that now? Just ready to go, ready to dive into all kinds of stuff?
My dad's here again, asking questions already knows the answer to. I mean, yeah, of course we are. I mean, okay, I didn't shave today, didn't sleep much, but yeah, we're excited. It's tremendous. Yeah, I mean, it's Thursday. Yeah, no, we're definitely jacked up. So, yeah, this is what we live for. This is what we've have always worked for. This is the time of year that everybody wants to play, and so yeah, we're definitely excited about the opportunity.
In the meantime, Mike, you've got the limbo that is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady, and he said he'd make a decision too, so they're waiting. But they've also let go. They fired a bunch of dudes.
Todd Bowles came in yesterday after his exit meetings. I don't know if Brady's making demands or what the situation is now. I mean, they got Todd Bowles moved in, as the head coach. So he fired 8 assistant coaches yesterday. Basically, the guys that cover the Buccaneers are saying, oh, okay, this is Todd Bowles, defensive guy. He wants to now bring in his own people, after not going further in the playoffs this year and having a losing record, in a pitiful NFC South. So he fired 8 assistants yesterday, including the offensive coordinator, Byron Leftwich. So, here's Byron Leftwich. Wait a minute. 2 years ago, we win a Super Bowl, and Tommy's really happy with me. And then this older veteran free agent roster gets stale, and this is my problem. I mean, I don't understand why these coaches ever buy houses the way they end up being the scapegoat. And here's what Todd Bowles told the reporters in Tampa Bay.
You know, when we get to that point, and we need to get to that point, that's when you become a team again, and that's when you have some success going forward. So it all starts in the off season. We know we won't have everybody. We understand that. We try to make the right decisions going forward and thank everybody for their efforts. And, you know, when you come back here, we'll see different culture, different chemistry, and different camaraderie.
In the meantime, you got a group like the Eagles, who are now, they've had a week off, and they're waiting for their first opponent, being the New York Giants. And their head coach, Nick Sirianni, by the way, the best decision maker, percentage-wise, giving his team probability to win in the entire NFL, Nick Sirianni, for what he's done. So, and now they're getting ready with his quarterback who was banged up, trying to make sure that shoulder's protected. But then again, you got to go out.
Yeah. So, you know, Sirianni now, he's just got to see if he can find that momentum that he had the first 2.5 months of the season. Jalen Hurts has got to find if he can get back in his groove coming off the shoulder injury. They're taking on this, I think, very dangerous Giants team right now. You know, and Wink Martindale, man, there's things that this guy has done with his defenses that may have, you know, been a blueprint for how to beat teams like the Vikings and some of these other teams that they've been able to beat. Well, how to beat the Packers, for that matter, in that game in London. So Sirianni now is there, and he's got, you know, the good news is he's at the link. He's got those crazy Philly fans, and he and Jalen Hurts talked about getting ready for this week to host what looks like, you know, a pretty hot team.
A good week of practice. We got to finish it up. You know, we need a good practice today. You know, working some situational football in practice today. So need a good week because we know things like that are going to pop up big time during the game.
So it's a special city. It's a special time. And, you know, we're taking it day by day. But obviously we know we have the support of our city through everything. And, you know, let's show up on Saturday.
Yeah, I love this weekend, Mike. I love this weekend. I love this divisional round of football. Usually proves to be the best round of football.
What's the toughest one to call this weekend? Is it the AFC games? Is it Bills and Bengals? Because, you know, the Bengals, I still don't think that left tackle is going to be. They're missing 3 starting offensive linemen for the Bengals. And even though Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase just look unstoppable at times, you know, if you get T. Higgins over the side, I just don't know if they're going to have enough time against the Bills team. And then I heard you guys talking earlier today about the Jaguars and what a good coach Doug Peterson is. And gosh, he knows everything that Andy Reid is thinking. And now he's got kind of a dangerous defense and all. But do you really see a scenario where this kind of new Jaguars team can go into Arrowhead and upset Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs?
The only way I do is if they just walk in with the mentality of we got nothing to lose. We're playing with house money. We're going to let it all hang out and go crazy. And meanwhile, you've got the Chiefs who are like, if they get punched in the face early, could they tighten up? You know, that type of thing. Other than that, no, I really don't.
So I wanted to pull out a tape here from the archives. Do you remember when you and I were in L.A. and we stopped by Kevin's house, the guy from Entertainment Tonight there in Toluca Lake?
Yes.
By the original Big Boy and Bob Hope's house and all that stuff. This is when Bill and I and his crew were in Los Angeles 9-10 months ago at the last Super Bowl. So we're there, you know, in like Burbank where NBC used to be and all that kind of stuff. And this guy is a longtime family friend. He started out, he's been with Entertainment Tonight almost from the start, almost 40 years. And in the late 70s, Kevin was about 18, 19 years old and a producer for Robert W. Morgan, who's a big time morning drive host out there in LA. I think it was KMPC was the name of the station. So he was telling me the story about, do you guys have, you know, coaches on or players? I said, well, yeah, we do. Sometimes they're regular, you know, they get sponsors and they get paid. You know, Bill's done that with his shows in the past. And he said, let me play you a tape. And he played this thing for me. It was 1981. The Rams had a pretty good team in the late 70s. They were in LA then. And then Chuck Knox, I think was the name of the coach. He went took an offer with the Bills. George Allen came back, was only back for like a couple of games, and the owner I think it was Carol Rosenbluth fired him over some dispute, even though George Allen had been, hallowed coach there in the late 60s with the fearsome foursome. So they promote this defensive coordinator named Ray Malavasky, who the first year he did okay, but then they start going 500, and they had a long flight back after a Monday night football game. They'd played the Bears. So they did one of those bits where we'll call the coach the next morning after the game. So this was in like 1981, KMPC radio, Robert W. Morgan trying to put on this Rams head coach to talk about the Monday night football game the night before.
7 o'clock now at KMPC. Robert W. along with Tom Wayman and Scott St. James. And now, sponsored by Pentax, it's time for our daily after the game hat with Coach Ray Malavasi, head coach Los Angeles Rams. Coach, good morning. Yeah, why don't we have the coach? Why don't we have it here? Hey, Coach, you there? Coach Malavasi? I honestly have, everybody's looking at me like I got the buttons pushed wrong. Honestly, they're all pushed right. Is the coach shaving in the background there? Or snoring? Snoring. Hey, Coach.
Oh, my God.
We'll get back to Coach Malavasi in a minute. When do we wake him up? Sorry.
He plays that Wake Up from Cheech and Chong's album. Remember that?
Yeah.
Anything, making noise or whatever.
Right.
So then they had to take a break and, figure out what's going on. Is he awake? Is there something wrong? Is there something wrong with our buttons? If you want to, we can take a break and see how they were able to correct that.
Absolutely awesome. That's great stuff. Stay tuned. We got a lot more. Another segment to go with Mike Clemens coming up right after this.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Even when the weather outside is frightful, your energy bill could be much more delightful. Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offers some of the most energy efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep the cold outside where it belongs. You'll help kick the January blues when you choose to book by the 31st for 0% interest up to 2029. You heard that right. No interest up to the year 2029 if you book by January 31st. Pella's premium wood windows and patio doors feature distinguished craftsmanship and nearly endless possibilities, with maximum design flexibility in dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Hurry. To get the 0% interest up to 2029, you have to book by January 31st. Visit PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Coach Malavasi? I honestly have. Everybody's looking at me like I got the buttons pushed wrong. And honestly, they're all pushed right. Is the coach shaving in the background there? Or snoring? Snoring.
Coach is all passed out. Sitting there snoring, hanging out. Welcome back to the program. Joining us on the hotlines, our guy, Mike Clemens, and wrapping things up on this Friday, which a week from today, don't forget, we're going to be at the Distillery in Grafton. Mike, are you around next week? You want to come up and have some lunch with us and hang out?
Sure, absolutely.
So, there you go.
Sounds good.
So
we take you back to 1981, September, Monday Night Football. Rams have got a pretty good defensive team with Jack Youngblood, and they hold Walter Payton to just 45 yards on 17 carries. That's before, they had Jim McMahon, our guy, show up that we got to talk to at the Super Bowl last year. They had Vince Evans and Bob Avellini at quarterback. So Rams win 24-7. They got that late night flight from Chicago all the way back to L.A., and then they're trying to get this guy on the radio the next morning. You can hear our buddy Kevin laughing in the background on the Robert W. Morgan Show. Listen to this.
Yeah, a little reveille here might do the trick. .22 at KFPC as we have our morning after conversation with Rams head coach Ray Malavasi, sponsored by Pentax. Coach Malavasi. Ray? Ray, how do you feel about Pat Hayden's performance last night? Apparently a little rusty after only playing the equivalent of one quarter last year and coming in with those 4 interceptions, 3 of which were overthrown, 1 little underthrown in the end zone there. What's your comment on Pat's performance this morning?
Oh, my God.
Regarding the injury to Jeff Rutledge, you've got 4 quarterbacks in camp, and now, of course, Pat Hayden and Jeff Kemp are the only healthy ones you got. Jeff Rutledge getting hurt last night, and Bob Lee already with a tendonitis in the right elbow. What's your comment on the quarterback situation? There's some rumors, Coach, last night that.
What time did you get to bed last night, Coach?
There's some rumors that Vince Ferragamo was in the stands last night. I was wondering if you had any comment on your behalf as to whether or not it's possible for Vince Ferragamo to get out of his Canadian contract and come back down to the NFL, and if that's just a wild piece of speculation, or is that a possibility? All right, Coach, we'll talk to you Friday morning before the Dallas game. And I got to talk to him Thursday, too. I'm going to be doing the pregame interview. He ought to be rested by then. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Robert W. Morgan.
Oh, my God. That's fantastic.
And no surprise, the Ray Malavasi era ended about 6 months later.
Right? There you go. Yeah. In the same fashion. Kind of a snoozer, to be honest with you.
Right.
Kind of a snoozer.
Yeah.
Mike, great stuff as always. We'll talk again come Monday or whenever and just kind of go from there, man. Okay?
Thank you, Billy.
Have a great weekend, buddy. Appreciate it. There you go. That's our guy, Mike Clemens. That's fantastic. Mike, I was telling Ben off the air.
Did you guys hear any of that?
We did. Heard everywhere. I was telling Ben off the air, I said, Mike will find stuff from everywhere. He's got a memory like a steel trap and just finds stuff from everywhere and knows stuff. We were out in LA last year, and we're driving around. He's tracking down the original Mark's Big Boy, and we went to Bob Hope's house, and Mike's like, oh, over here we got this, and then pointing stuff out. And so it's the Travels with Mike. That should be just a show within itself. Just Travels with Mike. That we should just put together a podcast and just call it Travels with Mike. I've often said we should just drop a couple of GoPros in the car on the way up to Lambeau Field on a Sunday and make that a podcast, because that itself is fantastic. You get everything from old girlfriend stories to in-depth inside locker room interview stuff. So it's fantastic. All right, that'll do it. Great weekend. It's time for us to get out. It's weird not to be working again this weekend, but I'm going to be watching football like the rest of you. Cannot wait. Looking forward to it. And we'll be back at it again on Monday. Ben, I will check in on you, man. Make sure you're okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't wait. I'm excited.
Anybody out in Madison that sees a dude running around in an Eagles starter jacket, take care of that boy. Time for us to go. Go ahead.
I'll have my pants on, Bill.
Yes, have your pants on and don't dye your junk, for God's sake.